Welcome, welcome, welcome. Is everybody in here? Who is here? Zero watching. Jesus, what else is going on? That you guys are not paying me any attention. What's going on here? I know I just got here, but this is your boy Manga Slade. Today we're going to talk about a little bit of a truth between heroes and villains. This is our comics and manga stream for the week. I'm doing it early this week because I didn't have to work today. So usually I would wait till about 9, but considering I didn't have to work today, let's start at 8. But I do have to work tomorrow, so I'm probably going to have to get out of here pretty early. We're not going to have time to do like a 4-hour stream today. We'll see how it goes, but I don't have time really to do a 4-hour stream. I really should be in bed by 11 o'clock, so let's try to get 2 hours and some change in here. How about that? All right, so some people are just going to have to play catch up. My prepared content is about the first 77 episodes of Naruto. For those of you who haven't been paying attention, maybe you're not noticing, I started watching Naruto, which is a 20-year-old anime that I haven't fully sat through. And I went back and I just started watching it from episode 1, and now I'm on episode 77. So please, if you're going to come in here and you're going to converse about the show, please do not spoil it. If you need to know exactly where I am in the show, I am in the episodes where they're doing the flashbacks of Gaara's childhood. And it's pretty screwed up. So we're going through that. That's the part where we're going to have to stop. I wanted to keep watching it, but I probably could have gotten to episode 80 or 85 or something like that if I didn't stop to do this stream, but I had been watching this show all day. In addition to that, I read the trade of Flash Rebirth, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm not really a big fan of the Flash, but I did find some similarities between the Flash and Naruto that I want to talk about. I also read Gunslinger Spawn this week, which was the new Spawn title that dropped. I'm really a big fan of the Spawn universe stuff. We're going to talk about some of that maybe, which I guess has the same theme. If we're going to continue with the theme of the episode, there are some things to be discussed. I'm in the middle of reading Marvel Masterworks, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's Spider-Man. I'm in the middle of the Sinister Six, so I just kind of stopped reading after Spider-Man beat like half the Sinister Six. I'm familiar with the Sinister Six from the cartoon, but the seeing it in paper form, I think I actually read this before, but I probably read it all via the screen and didn't have it like a hard copy to read. But there's a lot of things that we can get out of a lot of things that I noticed. And like I said, some people are just going to have to play catch up. Because in the first 78 episodes of Naruto, you really learn a lot about characters who don't have a center of connectedness. And in the Flash Rebirth, they're called lightning rods. They're people that you actually care about. And your ability to maintain your connection with those people through your thoughts or whatever, it keeps you grounded. That's how it works in the Flash Rebirth storyline. Now, again, I'm not a big fan of the Flash, but I actually love this concept. If you can hear me, please wave or something in the comment section, because I've seen a lot of people are starting to pour in, but I'm not seeing any responses. I'm not seeing anybody say anything, so maybe you can't hear me. Hopefully, it's a thing where people can actually hear me, and I'm not just chattering about myself. So okay, so I'm on. I had to check it myself. All right. So in the Flash Rebirth book, you have to stay grounded. So when you go into the Speed Force, which I hate the Speed Force, by the way, but when you go into the Speed Force, it's easy to get lost. So they treat the Speed Force like it's a concept where you can pull yourself out of it if you have a grounding mechanism. You have a person, specifically a person that you care about, you can focus on and pull yourself out of the Speed Force. So what we're looking at from this perspective is you have to have a grounding mechanism. You have to have connectedness, right? In the first 77 episodes of Naruto, that is a running theme throughout the show, is how many people are suffering from the same affliction Naruto is suffering from. Meaning, how many of these people are lonely or have been rejected or are outcasts of their society, and how many of them, how they respond to it. So it's like we have this concept, this loneliness, this being an outcast in your society, and each character handles this stuff differently. This is why, a common theme in heroes and villains is being an orphan. Typically, no parents, because not having parents almost immediately cuts off your connectedness to your community, to your society, or whatever. That creates a void that needs to be filled by something or somebody. All right? So something or somebody has to fill in the void left by you not having parents. All right? So at that point, Naruto is a character, we meet him, he doesn't have parents. He's not very well liked in the community, in the Hidden Leaf Village. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? He's not very well liked. He doesn't have any friends, but he has to fill that void with something. He still exists in this village. There's people around him everywhere, but he doesn't have what everybody else has. He doesn't have that connectedness. He doesn't have that family, and he feels empty. He feels alone, and that's something that can take you in one way or the other. This is something that we learn from when you study heroes and villains. You study often that the villains are faced with the exact same problems as the heroes, but they take a different direction. All right? So in Naruto's situation, his perfect reflection would be Gaara. So you have this situation where two characters are complete outcasts of this society. Now, Shikamaru does become his friend, but the rest of them do too. They become his friends later. At this point, we're talking about when you say these characters, they grow up with no friends. They grow up with no connection, no relationships, and they grow up hated by their fellow villagers. They're not liked. They're not well liked. So what ends up happening is you see how Naruto handles it versus how Gaara handles it. Naruto hates different people in the Hidden Leaf Village, but he doesn't hate them enough that he wanted to kill them. Gaara hates everybody in the Sand Village and is willing to kill them. Okay? The difference is why. And we see this, and I'm not sure if it was filler because I never read the manga, but it's a very interesting angle that they did with Gaara and his uncle. Let's put uncle in quotations. Where Gaara, as a child, looks up to his uncle. His uncle tells him all about the sand and how the sand, protects him like a mother would protect him, and it's his mother's love that is protecting him. And it fills Gaara with something where he's like, oh wow, that's kind of nice. My mom loved me so much that this thing that is within me is protecting me. But when you have with Naruto, it is this thing where everybody's afraid of the fox within him. The nine-tailed fox demon. Everybody's afraid of it. So they're staying away from him. They're like, I don't want nothing to do with that kid. That kid's a creep or whatever. The difference is Naruto found a connection through his elders, his mentors, his coaches, the people who took an interest in him. Gaara didn't have such a thing. It turns out that his uncle was lying to him. His mother never loved him. His uncle doesn't love him. His father doesn't love him. His friends don't even like him. All right? So now you're in this situation where Gaara is completely detached from the Sand Village completely. Even the people you think are his teammates, they have these negative thoughts about him. They have this negative portrayal of him. They hate him. So he's in a situation where he's hated by everybody, and so he returns that hate. He's what we call the fallen. While Naruto is in a situation where he could have returned the hate, but he came across some adults who actually liked him, and actually says, you know what? We see what Naruto is doing. A lot of the pranks and the obnoxious behavior that Naruto has is attention seeking. You know, he doesn't have the relationships with everybody that everybody else has, so he manages to get that stuff through attention seeking behavior, pulling pranks, being loud, being obnoxious, being overly ambitious. I'm going to be the Hokage and all that kind of stuff, right? He says all that stuff, and it does push away some people, but it attracts other people to him because there are people who are scared of the nine-tailed fox demon within him, but there's other people who say he could use that for good. It could be used for good. Correct. Iruka Sensei is, you know, the number one when it comes to turning Naruto around, being a positive role model. Gaara didn't have any positive role models, so Gaara is evil. He's evil to his core, at least at this point. I know through spoilers that he's not going to become as evil later, but he is pure evil right now. You know, he is a monster, literally, right now. And it is an interesting point to note that this is what happens to people who don't have a connection to other people, who have no connection to family, who have no connection to their village, no connection to their people, and no connection at all. They turn out to be pretty screwed up individuals. Now, here's an interesting thing. Despite the fact that we can learn through Naruto and Gaara that not having a connection to your society, to your people, to your clan or whatever, could turn you into a villain. You know, we see that. But we can also see through the other characters that it could be a benefit to not have a connection to a family or a society. This point is made through the Hyugas and the Uchihas. Like I said, Naruto doesn't have a family. That being said, he is not hindered by the crap that the Hyugas have to deal with and the Uchihas have to deal with. That means Sasuke's story is a little bit different. And Neji's story is a little bit different. Now, because they grow up in these oppressive societies, well, the Hyuga society is incredibly oppressive, where hierarchies are enforced and they have absolutely no conception of you being able to go to a certain point. And I love the Neji story because what you see, they write it down for you in basic English. Neji's father and Hinata's father are twin brothers. Because one was born mere seconds apart, he gets to be the clan leader, while the other one is basically just his protector. That they're telling you straight off the bat what they're talking about. They're talking about hierarchies. They're talking about a system that is incredibly oppressive, a system that is so silly, that is so stupid, that you can be born just merely seconds before another person and can be considered more important and of a higher rank than them. And so when you see what Neji is, it's a situation where he is a character who, by all rights, should be a higher ranking ninja or higher rank in his family. But because of his father, he can never be. And that is a very interesting story. And that creates hate within him. You know, because Neji is working very hard to, you know, show up Hinata and, you know, get revenge on, you know, the Hyugas who have mistreated him. That creates hate within his heart. He hates Hinata. He hates his uncle. He hates everybody because he feels like they're oppressing him, you know? And I really loved, because I didn't know this before, I kind of had an idea about the Neji Hinata storyline. I mean, Naruto has existed forever. I didn't know exactly what the problem was, but I knew they had some kind of connection between the two characters. But when Neji takes off his headband and he's got the curse mark on his forehead, it's literally a brand on his head, him being branded lower class. It's branded on his fucking forehead. Like, that's something that is absolutely, positively mind-boggling to me. And it's great storytelling. It's a great storytelling device that his lower class status is literally imprinted on his forehead. So what you see is in a situation where I know Sasuke's brother Itachi murdered the family. You know, this was Sasuke having a very close connection with his family, who was completely wiped out by his older brother. So that creates hate. Sasuke hates his brother. He's fueled by hate as well. Everybody, you know, except, you know, certain people, but some of the most important characters in this arc are fueled by hatred and rejection, or just flat out ambition. So it's very, very interesting to watch, and this is why you have so many different characters in an anime or whatever. Is you take a simple theme like being able to be connected to others and see how these characters respond. And to go back to Flash Rebirth, this is another interesting thing because you see it in Barry Allen. Barry Allen has Iris West Allen, who is his wife. Wally has the children. He also has his wife. Max Mercury has, I think, Liberty Bell, who is his daughter. Or is that Johnny Quick? I think that's Johnny Quick or whatever. I'm not too much about the Flashes. I don't know for sure. I just read it like literally earlier today, but I still don't remember it. These ancillary characters, it's very hard for me to keep track of them. But just about everybody has a connection. But Professor Zoom, aka the Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne, he doesn't have that connection. You know, all he has is his negative speed force, his hatred for Barry Allen. That's all he has. And when he's disconnected from the negative speed force, you see that he loses his power, and he didn't die. Even though EVS, sometimes you forget that he's a comic book artist. He drew a very evocative picture of the Reverse Flash being cut off from his power source, and it looked like he got fried. It looked. So it's very interesting to me that they chose that. Another good story to look at connectedness is Superman for the Man Who Has Everything. That's another great story where Mongol attached this plant to Superman, and it gives him his heart's desire. And basically it puts Superman in sort of paralysis. And you see what Superman's true heart's desire is, and that is to return to Krypton with the rest of his people, have a relationship with his father, have children on Krypton. You see all of that stuff, and this is what Superman truly believes, and this is what he truly wants. Because Superman is an orphan. Like, he has parents, sure, Earth parents, but he dreams of having that connection with Krypton, his actual people, and he was adopted by the Kents, and they nurtured him and loved him and all that kind of stuff, but he knows that he is not a human being. And so he has that missing piece to him that he wants to have a connection with. And Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons did a great job in bringing that for the Man Who Has Everything. That Superman is a character who, if he was missing something, it would be a connection with Krypton, his actual people. So I think that was fantastic. And you can look at it, you could even take it out of the realm of comic books and manga and anime. For instance, one of the things I learned in criminal justice classes is that the more connected people are to their society, the less deviant behavior you will see. So, but that's just one thing. You will typically see a reverse when you have connections that are negative. For instance, gangs. Gangs will bring negative connections, but it's still a seeking out of connections. Let me explain this, because it's going to get a little bit ugly. A child is born in a neighborhood. He has no father. He has no male role models. All of his role models are going to be the older brothers or the uncles or whatever, or somebody else. So if these people are gangbangers, they're going to nurture negative behaviors within that kid. And he going to start thinking these kinds of things are positive because they get him positive reactions. You learn, if you fight, you rob, you steal, you shoot somebody, you will get a pat on the back. The people that you respect will respect you. Then, all of a sudden, you find that these young people will gravitate towards gangs. Just like, they gravitate towards gangs for money reasons. People are looking for positive and negative incentives. Negative incentives push people away from negative behaviors. Positive incentives push people towards it. So what you learn from Naruto is that even though Naruto had negative behaviors, deviant behaviors, like the pranks and the obnoxious, some of his being obnoxious, this stuff was kind of ignored by the adults. They figure he's just a stupid kid. We can connect with him. If we get him young, we can fix it, and he'll grow into a better man. Meanwhile, you have other people who exhibit negative behaviors and are either A, ignored, or B, negative behaviors are instead nurtured within them. So you can see that, and I think that is very cool. Let's take a break from my lecture right now and go into the comment section. TN Pyro says that Gaara was never pure evil. That is correct. We see that he, as a child, is actually just looking for the same thing all children are looking for, which is love and appreciation. And it's not until that is completely severed via him killing his own uncle. And, Gaara is like, okay, why? And then the uncle says, well, it was an order from your father. And Gaara naturally thinks, because he's a kid, oh, you didn't have a choice. My father is the Kazekage. You don't have a choice. And then the uncle breaks his heart by saying, yeah, I did have a choice. And said that I thought that I could, that there was something deep within me that I truly do hate you. You killed my sister. She didn't choose to give birth to you. You were born in hate. And you learn that this hatred even poisons Gaara, because he was like, holy shit, nobody loves me. Nobody likes me. And these negative behaviors are reinforced through him. And I know that he's eventually going to shake some of this stuff, as most, characters in shonen anime tend to do. They tend to eventually shake some of the negative behaviors, but it's a truly horrifying tale of a kid who grew up in a completely loveless society where every attempt to make friends is shunned. Every attempt to make a connection with an adult is shunned. And who does he have left? He has nothing. And how can you fight to protect, or even think you should be able to protect, the people who have, shunned you? And I thought that was another interesting angle when it comes to Gaara, was that the I don't know what the sand beast is called. I think it's Shikamaru or something like that. Shiku or something whatever. It's implanted within him so that he can protect the village. That was the original idea, that he would get this stuff implanted within him in order to protect the village. And then they find out later that the people are just afraid of his power. And so they reject him and they want to kill him. But they created a situation where they can't kill him. The thing is protecting him on instinct without him even trying. And so all of their attempts to kill Gaara are futile. TN Pyro, let's talk about the real star of Naruto, Tenten. She doesn't do anything in the first 70 some odd episodes of it. She didn't really do much of anything. After she lost in the exams, I really stopped paying attention to that character. Shame Ronstar. This is an interesting departure from a typical wrestling discussion. It's Shukaku. Okay, my bad. Thank you, Vegeta Lover. Yeah, man, I like to talk about different things. I like to talk about storytelling. That's what this is. That's what wrestling is. It's all storytelling. If you're going to write a villain in a pro wrestling tale, you could look at a character and understand the character's motivation. Like Kane, for instance. Kane was a character where you see that he had no real connections to anyone. And that's one of the character arcs that Kane kind of goes through, which is when Kane comes in, he has no connection to anybody other than Paul Bearer. But over time, he does build those connections with other people. He builds a connection with Mankind. He builds a connection with X-Pac. He builds a connection with Tori. This was in the first 2 or 3 years of him being on TV. And it does soften the character, and it begins to turn the character. So Kane feels comfortable talking now. He's using the voice box and all that kind of stuff. That's good character progression. The problem is that we just have too much. It was not long enough of Kane being the invincible monster. He had only been the invincible monster for a couple of months, but he probably should have been that for several years. Vegeta, Lover 92. Two of the best characters, Kane and Undertaker, are orphans. Yes, they are both orphan characters. Now, technically, Kane is not, because remember, Paul Bearer is Kane's father, but Paul Bearer is a negative influence on Kane. So, Undertaker is technically an orphan. And that's the interesting thing about when you talk about heroes and villains, is that a lot of heroes are also orphans, right? And what made Spider-Man different, Spider-Man's an orphan too, but what makes Spider-Man different is Spider-Man has Aunt May. And that means that he has if we were to go back and use Flash parlance, he has that grounding mechanism. Where you have somebody to remind Pete who he is, and somebody who cares about him on a basic level. Are you eating? Like if you read the old Stan Lee stuff and the old Stan Lee and Ditko Spider-Man, Aunt May is constantly fretting over Peter over the little things. Or is he eating? Is he sleeping? Is he going to school? All this kind of stuff. You had this stuff to keep Spider-Man grounded. Flash Thompson is there to be the bully, but to check Spider-Man's ego. Because there's always going to be somebody, even though Flash Thompson loves Spider-Man, he's a big fan of Spider-Man, he constantly calls Parker puny and calls him an idiot and threatening to kick his ass all the time. It's a way of keeping Spider-Man grounded. It's a way of keeping Spider-Man grounded to the reader as well. Because we know that Spider-Man, Peter Parker can beat up Flash Thompson, but he chooses not to. And that shows you who he truly is, how he best uses his power, right? He knows that Flash Thompson is a bully, but he's not a threat. Let's put it like that. So there's no need to use your powers against him. I think there was one piece that I've read so far where Peter Parker actually punched Flash Thompson, but it was in the context of a boxing match, So, but that was about it. But most of the time, Pete realizes that he could knock out Flash Thompson, but it wouldn't be the right thing to do because Flash Thompson doesn't have spider powers, LMAO, you're talking about Spider-Man, and Hero comes on my Sirius XM channel. Holy shit, the Nickelback song. Oh, Nickelback sucks. Nickelback sucks. Shane Ronstar. Everyone loves the anti-hero, though. That's why the Vegeta is so popular. Vegeta is Vegeta, the Punisher. Everybody kind of likes those heroes, those tortured souls, who have fucked up backstories, and yet they manage to always do the right things. Vegeta can only dance on the Thimble's head so long, before they finally gave him up and turned him to a pure baby face. But Vegeta, in the early part of Dragon Ball, was a phenomenal character. He was just top notch, because he was also there. His ambitions, his pride, the character of Vegeta was in some ways predictable and unpredictable. Where that's really what people want, though. People like for characters to be predictable. They think that they don't want to be predictable, but they do. They want characters to be predictable. Vegeta he's still a good character, but he's not as great as he was, because the character isn't as dynamic as he used to be. There was always that looming threat that Vegeta would flip and, try to kill somebody. In the early parts of the Dragon Ball series, there was always that threat that he might fuck around and kill Tien or something like that, because Tien was talking shit to him. There was always that, hey, Vegeta might do it. But later, and you just kind of know he's not going to. He may still needle with the guy, but he's not going to actually do anything to him. But in the so it's kind of it's a little bit different in the later later versions of C, after he sacrifices himself, And I really wish I could ask Toriyama why sacrifices never worked in Dragon Ball. Like, it never works. Like, every time somebody tries to sacrifice themselves in Dragon Ball, they always fail. You know, like, you would think sacrificing yourself would, is the ultimate absolution, but it almost never absolutely works. Um, the Dawn, Dragon Ball Superhero was better than the Broly movie. It introduced Pan and had Piccolo involved way more. I think that's an interesting. Which one was better? I don't know. Maybe I should watch the Broly movie again. Maybe I need to watch it again. Because I liked both of them. But my problem with Superhero is that it taught us the same lessons that it keeps teaching us the same, over and over again. That Gohan basically doesn't want to be a fighter. He wants to do other things. He has other interests. He's a human. And even though Gohan is half human, he's almost completely and totally human. And in some ways, the most human character on the show is that he's not obsessed with fighting. He wants to do other things. Now, he literally has other things that he's interested in. Why the hell should he continue to fight? And then also, Goku and Vegeta not only are just on the planet, but they're obsessed with fighting. So, they'll absolutely take up any challenge. And so Gohan doesn't feel like he needs to do it. Let's see, Al Hankerson and Ali. I keep forgetting. I'll tell you, my vision is not good. Imagine this: Reeves, Keaton, Carter, and Ship battling Hackman and Nelson in a crossover JLA movie. Well, you're gonna have a hard time doing it considering Christopher Reeves is dead, and most of these other people are like old as shit. But I guess if you meant in their prime, that would have been interesting. But I don't see how. I don't think Lex Luthor and the Joker could have worked together. Now, maybe Nicholson's Joker, because he was, he wasn't a raving lunatic. Maybe they could have worked together before Nicholson's Joker tried to kill him, which would have been inevitable anyway. Vegeta Lover 92. As a movie superhero, is better. Broly is way better for fighting. Yeah. I think as a storyline, superhero was probably better. But like I said, I went into the movie thinking, like, how stupid is the Red Ribbon Army? They're going to try to kidnap a Saiyan. I got to see how this is going to turn out, which I already knew. But then when they kind of blew that, and it was Piccolo basically using Pan as a decoy to get Gohan out of that damn lab or whatever, the house that he was in, I'm not going to lie to you, I kind of shrugged on the movie after that. I was like, But it was still fun. It was still a fun flick, It was just problematic for me that they destroyed the tension in the movie, which I thought was unfair. It was kind of foolish. Let's see. Let's go back. Let's see if we got some more. Any more comments? Gene Hackman is older than my dad. I don't know how old your dad is, but I'm pretty sure he is. Gene Hackman's got to be in his 70s. He's got to be in his 70s at this point. The dude was he in his 30s back then? So I know he's old as hell now. I'm interested in where Super is going to go. Did I see the Brain Buster by Gohan? I probably did and just didn't pay it much attention. There was a lot going on, man. The big fight scene was fun. Oh, he's 90? Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, well, he's old as hell. Yeah, we're about to be saying goodbye to Mr. Gene Hackman in a couple of years, man. I hope it's longer as, hope it's another 10 or 20 or something like that, but yeah, he ain't got much longer to go. Shit, I didn't know he was that old. That's sad. Here goes a Shane Ronstar. This is interesting. Feels like they've been playing with Frieza moving into the tweener role. Yes, and that is really unfortunate. I do not like it. I don't like that. Frieza should not be used in that way. Frieza was the singular most evil character in all the Dragon Ball. This guy was genocidal, destroyed an entire race of people. Just because he was afraid that one of them might rise up against him. Trying to turn that guy into a good guy is fucked. But Dragon Ball has become, I don't know, about 60% fan service now. So I don't think there's enough people that really love Frieza to the point where they want Frieza to switch. But I don't like that he's been moved into the Vegeta role. I don't like it. I hate it. I don't watch The Boys, Ali Hankerson, so I'm not sure whether it will be Joker or Homelander. But if Homelander is basically just a Superman knockoff, which means he's bulletproof and he can fly through walls and all that kind of shit, like we've seen that kind of stuff before. We've seen that shit all over the place. That shit's in Invincible. That shit's in Brightburn. That shit's in pretty much every negative Superman story out there. It's, how do you stop a guy who's bulletproof and can fly through walls and shoot lasers from his eyes and all that kind of shit? It's like, come on, there's nothing special about that. At least not to me. Kenny 2, who do you like better as a character, Naruto or Ichigo? Well, I didn't watch Bleach. I didn't finish Bleach, I should say. I watched, I don't know. I couldn't tell you how many episodes of Bleach I watched. But it wasn't many. I couldn't tell you the overall story of it. I just knew the character name was Ichigo. Bleach is one of those anime that came on Toonami right around the time where I was kind of moving away from anime. But I never really gave it up. I just kind of gave up on Bleach, I think it was. But I just never really got into it. And plus, I think Bleach is like super long. It's like One Piece, isn't it? It's like 300 episodes or something nonsense like that. Like I don't know about jumping into that. But Naruto has a pretty big fan base, and I figure, hey, I'm going to jump into it because I know I did like Naruto up until the point where I stopped watching it. And I remember watching a lot of Naruto and then watching some of Shippuden. But I don't remember, being able to put all the pieces together. So watching it all the way through has been, an experience. Let's put it like that. Bleach is 315 episodes, fixing to get more. Jesus, no way. How much of that is filler? The crazy thing about the Naruto filler is that I'm using the guide, but it says that pretty much every episode is straight up filler with canon in it. So you have to watch the episode because you can't skip it just because it has filler in it. I mean, every story is every movie or TV show or whatever is going to have filler because that's how they stretch the story out. So, I was glad enough to have the guide, but the guide is useless until I get to like a full filler episode that's, I don't need to watch. So Bleach has like 70 plus episodes of filler. Wow. That's crazy. A lot of baseball episodes, huh? a lot of Hot Springs episodes. Oh God, that's crazy. Speaking of what, Outlaw Star was another one that where connectedness was a big part of the story. When it came to the it's right on the tip of my tongue. The robot girl. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But James, the kid, when he finally got himself a little bit of a girlfriend, I love that episode so much. I love Outlaw Star just for that. There's some stuff they did with characters that I think that are very interesting, but there's other things that I felt could have been explored more. TN Pyro, what part of Naruto are you on? I'm on the part where Gaara is part sand beast and he's trying to kill Sasuke. I think it's episode 77. That's the last episode I watched all the way through. So episode 78 will be the next one. I just found out about Gaara's uncle. Vegeta Lover 92. I wish they were Hot Springs episodes. You see the women in Bleach. I know one of the women in Bleach has like some huge titties, but I don't know her name is. I just see that character all the time. Who you got winning, Green Lantern or Iron Man? Well, Green Lantern can create anything with his ring. And I guess we mean what Green Lantern are you talking about? Because all the Green Lanterns have different power sets, essentially. Well, they have different creative ideas of what they could do with their ring. I would think that the Green Lantern could just create, you know, a structure around Iron Man that could prevent him from going forward. So Tony Stark, especially if he doesn't know anything about the Green Lantern, he doesn't know anything about it, he would be screwed. If he had some time to, I don't know, if he had prep time, he probably would do a little bit better. But I don't see him having the ability to defeat a Green Lantern. But it also would depend on the Green Lantern because certain Green Lanterns, well, the Green Lanterns also can, I think they can be shot. They can also be, you know, they could be affected by bombs and stuff like that. So I guess if he was to shoot like a missile or something, he could technically hurt a Green Lantern. But what is he going to do against, you know, if they create some type of weapon, you know, some kind of super weapon, and charge him with it or hit him with it or whatever, like a giant hammer or something like that? What the fuck is he going to do? I mean, sure, he can dodge it, but I guess he has certain suits that could withstand the damage. And he also could, we're talking about peak Iron Man, right? So he might be able to switch his armors at a whim, you know? So he might actually do better than I think. Now that I think about it. Rangiku, is that the name of that big titted character from Bleach? Yeah, Green Lantern. Green Lantern can make shields, but he can also make all kinds of offensive weapons. You know, and he could just blast with the power ring. So there's a lot of interesting things that he could do. The Hulk Buster armor is also huge, Kenny too. The Hulk Buster armor is huge. It gives, you know, the Green Lantern a lot of things to target, the knees, elbows, stuff like that. It gives him some stuff to target. So I don't know about the Hulk Buster. Maybe he will need something sleeker. A superior Iron Man though might be interesting. What's the one? Extremist Iron Man. That one might be able to do okay if he had the extremist suit. That might be okay. Who's winning, Gorilla Grodd or Sabretooth? I don't know that much about Gorilla Grodd. Again, I'm not that big on the Flash, so I don't know that much about Gorilla Grodd, quite honestly. And then we have to talk about what version of Sabretooth, because there's a comic book version of Sabretooth sometimes is very feral and vicious and that kind of thing. Rangiku is indeed orange hair, huge tits. Also, Orihime is the same way. Ah, yes. Ah, yes. The fan service is out, baby. That's typically what people mean by fan service, is that you get your shonen and you put titties all over it. And that's usually all you need, really, and it gets people to watch it. I love that, you know, when the One Piece guy got challenged about the huge titties on his show, he basically just didn't give a shit. You know, smart guy, you know, not caring at all about what people think. My extension of Gorilla Grodd goes into, I saw him in Flash Rebirth, writing on the walls or something like that. So I know he's a smart gorilla, but I've never seen him actually do anything. Like, I don't read Flash comic books typically, so I don't know what he can and can't do. What else? What else we got here? Iron Man with the Infinity Stone. With the Infinity Gems, well, Iron Man could just blink the Green Lantern out of existence at that point. You can pretty much do whatever you want with the Infinity Stones, but I don't think he would actually do that. Iron Man is one of those characters that he's responsible with power, because as a weapons manufacturer, he understands the appropriate usage of power. So, you know, if he had all the stones or whatever, I don't think he would abuse it. Now, I think that him being a futurist, he did all that crazy shit to his body, but he's still pretty responsible with power. Well, unless you're talking about Civil War Iron Man, because he wasn't responsible at all. He sucked. Let's see. Ultron versus Brainiac could be fun. Could be pretty fun. Well, Ultron, Brainiac is a fun character for sure. It's just basically an alien machine thing, which can be pretty fun. I don't know though. I think they'd probably meet each other and get along. That'd be one of those things where they probably wouldn't fight each other. They'd probably get along and they want to share notes and shit, you know. But I think Ultron eventually would want to fuse with Brainiac, and that'd be a huge problem. They want to fuse with one another. That would be great. We got a wrestling thing here. Buddy Matthews has requested his release. I don't know if he requested his release as much as he just wants to go home for a while, which is when it rains, it pours in AEW. And a lot of people are thinking this is Triple H contacting people and getting these guys to want to leave. But ultimately, you got to think about it. A lot of these guys, man, they're on the lower rungs of AEW. They're not doing much of anything. And what keeps them there? You know, why would they want to stay? You know, and why would he want to go to WWE? Like, why go back? You know, there's nothing for him there. Triple H was there when he wasn't doing anything. You know, so I don't know. Like, why would he want to go back? Malachi Black, I can understand, but Buddy Murphy, I don't know. TN Pyro, did you like the first Black Panther movie, and are you looking forward to Wakanda Forever movie? It took me, I think, 4 years to watch Black Panther because I kind of was like, this movie is going to be some bullshit. Now, I watched it. I found it to be interesting. I didn't like it. And of course, they tried to make Killmonger especially sound like he was a hero. You know, he cares all about the people and all that kind of, like, nah, not really. For Killmonger, it's a revenge story. You know, having T'Challa sort of accept some of Killmonger's issues and say, okay, well, the one line that everybody kind of oozes themselves over when it comes to Killmonger is when he said, no, you know, bury me at sea because my people knew it was greater to die than to live in bondage or something like that. And I was like, okay, I see why that could be the case. You know, there's tons of stories of African slaves jumping off the boats and into the ocean in order to try to escape or to just accept death, you know, rather than be a slave. But I don't know. That's an easy decision to make when you're thinking about it, you know, from that perspective. But think about it. I mean, is it really better to destroy your entire bloodline rather than be a slave? I don't know. How did these people know they were going to be slaves? You know? And then the crazy thing is there's a lot of stories also of if a slave was chained to a corpse, they threw them both overboard. So that could be problematic. But I didn't hate Black Panther as much as I thought I would. I didn't love it as much though, and I have no interest in Wakanda Forever. It's like it's gonna be stupid, and it's gonna end up probably with Shuri as Black Panther, which is not gonna be fun at all because that's just gonna be more garbage. Rumors from WG Field. Rumors are the MCU X-Men is going to be based on the astonishing run with Wolverine, Cyclops, Frost, Kitty, Beast, and Colossus. Hopefully Colossus is not full CGI this time. Getting a new Beast, that's going to be interesting. But I heard they're supposed to be doing Rogue. She's supposed to be in that too, ain't she? Yeah, I think she's supposed to be Rogue in there, right? It's supposed to be a Rogue in there somewhere. They were talking about Kiki Palmer. They wanted Kiki Palmer to play Rogue. And I actually don't hate that. I think she could do a pretty good accent. I don't hate Kiki Palmer as Rogue. You know, with the right look, I don't hate that. Kenny 2, where do you out Gohan Beast as far as power? You think he is stronger than Broly, Jiren, Vegeta, Beerus, etc.? No, I don't believe he's stronger than any of those guys. But with him, without them being there, it's hard to tell. Without seeing Gohan go all out in that sort of setup where he can actually test himself, we don't know. Like that would be the same thing with Orange Piccolo. We don't know how far he can go. You know, that's the instance about, you know, those guys being separated from like Goku and Vegeta and all of them. as those guys are the standard bearers of power levels and stuff like that. Like we don't know how well the Gammas would have done against Goku and Vegeta. 9 times out of 10 the Gammas would have just gotten wrecked. Cell Max probably would have just got wrecked. But we don't know, not for sure. I don't know if he was stronger than Jiren, man. Jiren is something else. WG Phil, they just erasing all these redheads, but Kiki is just fan casting by the fans. That's true. I'm not a fan of all of the erasure of the redheads. To me, I don't get it. I know that they say the Irish are the niggers of Europe, but and maybe that's what they mean. We just gonna replace all the Irish with black people. I know that what's that girl name? I think her name is Halle Bailey as Ariel from The Little Mermaid. She looks ridiculous. She looks ridiculous. Vegeta Lover 92. Toriyama said in an interview, Piccolo is as strong as Goku and Vegeta. Well, until we actually see that, we'll we'll go through it. But I don't know, man. It seems a little weird to me that he would be as strong as Goku and Vegeta, and Piccolo did not win a single fight in that movie. He lost both the fights he was in, really. He still did not really beat Gamma 2. Gamma 2 basically gave up and turned the other cheek. Became sort of heroic and kind of let Piccolo live. But then Piccolo got swatted out by Cell Max. So I don't know. We'll have to see when they bring the cast back together again, and we see Gohan, Beast, and we see all this stuff together. We'll figure it out, because we also have to figure out where Trunks stands in this whole conversation too, because Trunks, talk about future Trunks rather. When he powered up against Zamasu, he wasn't as strong as Goku and Vegeta, but he still was able to do some damage. So that would be interesting. I guess you say Gohan one-shot Gamma 2 and knocked him out. Well, yeah. I'm pretty sure that was good. The thing is, Piccolo, we just don't know what his full potential is. I don't know why his skin turned orange either. That's an interesting situation. Like, why was Piccolo's body need to turn orange? I don't know. Why did that need to happen? I think he just got buff without, turning orange. Like, why would he need to be an orange Namek? I don't know. I don't understand that. Let's see. WG Phil. I can see Cyclops and Beast getting swapped, but it kind of defeats the purpose of representation when black people are the only race studios pick, like Hispanics and Asians don't exist. I agree. And it's like, that's how you can tell it's basically just a jobs program. Well, let's take that back, because they turned Namor into some kind of underwater Aztec guy. I don't know what the hell that was about. I don't understand what that was about, but it's interesting. Kenny 2, Piccolo is Super Saiyan 3 level, and Gohan is Goku Super Saiyan Blue level. I don't know. Why? Let's ask that question though. Could Gohan use God Key? How about that? Why can't he use God Key? He hasn't had the God training, right? Why can't he get it? He should be able to get it, right? So what happens if he was able to unlock his full position to beast mode, but he also could get God Key, right? I don't know. Vegeta level 92 orange is the best color in the color of the Dragon Balls. Sure, but that doesn't explain why Piccolo's skin turned orange. I mean, like there's, what was it about him? His orange turning, I don't know. Ali Hankerson, how would you fix She-Hulk? Well, the thing is, the writers of She-Hulk is what ruined it. I mean, She-Hulk was a character, and this is the same for pretty much all comic book characters, is that it was created for male consumption. So She-Hulk as a character was fun and flirty and all of that kind of stuff. And that's not what they want to put on screen, because they want a female-centered She-Hulk So now they want to create what women they think women like, even though it's all basically stereotypes. They think all women understand, you know, this stuff and believes it and think it's funny, and that's what they did. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's pretty silly to me why they would do that. It's pretty dumb. Leith LZ, have you read any of the Cerebus the Aardvark comics? If so, do you like them? No, I haven't read any of them. I have watched a lot of channels that talk a lot about the Cerebus comics, though. Strange Brain Parts has a long video about the Aardvark, Cerebus the Aardvark comics. Um, I think Uncle Jerk has did videos on it too, but I never read them myself. It's one of those things that's a little too indie. I typically stay away from animal themed books. I know I say that, but sometimes I will read. Like I read this comic called Little Red Ronin. I got this little raccoon chick on it. It's probably like a spin on Little Red Riding Hood. It turned out to me not be very good either. So it was only 3 issues. So I wasted $15. It sucked, but whatever. Vegeta Lover 92 Gohan with God Key would be busted, just like when Broly gets it. It's going to be very unfortunate when they do that. The thing about Dragon Ball is the same thing I have with the Flash. It's just so many characters with the same power sets, and it's just increasing that character count. So it's like there's like 12 Saiyans now. I'm just kind of like, oh my god, whatever. Kenny 2, Vegeta and Goku are far ahead in the manga. They fought Gas and Granola. They are stronger than Cell Max and the Gammas. I wish I was following that damn manga, but it all just comes across as fan servicey fan fiction to me. I know Toriyama is helping Torataro through that story, but there's also parts of that shit where he's kind of like, I know that Toriyama ain't got nothing to do with this. But people are loving Dragon Ball Super the manga. You know, they're very critical of it as well. I know that some people have been a little bit more critical than others, but I personally have not read the manga. I may jump in though and start reading it. I heard a lot of people like it. The Granola arc is a year before Superhero. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's interesting. I tried watching Dragon Ball Heroes or something like that. What was it called? And there was like a prison planet or something, and I was just so lost at all of those crazy characters just popping up, and I'm just kind of like, what? Whatever. Vegeta Lover 92, the movie is after those arcs. Okay, so when they restart the anime, are they going to animate the Gas and Granola arcs? So how is that going to work? Leith LZ, have you ever read any Static Shock comics? Did you watch the TV show that was on Kids WB? Actually, I have read some of the Static Shock comics. I don't have any physical copies, but I did read up to I don't know how far I read into the series, the original McDuffie series. I didn't really watch the cartoon show. I'm gonna go back and watch it eventually, but I didn't watch the cartoon show. But from what I've seen of clips of the show, they tackle some of the same subjects that was in the comic book. And I actually like the comic book in terms of how it represented the the comic. I think it did a good job. The cartoon, from what I saw, from what I saw. I don't know for sure, but I know that new Static Shock is probably not. It's probably not best representative of Static Shock at all. That's a promotional anime. Well, all animes are promotional, sir. They all are used to promote the manga. Tia and Pyro, they need to bring the moral arc to anime. Well, yeah, they need to animate all of it if they can. Shit, you know, bring it all in. Why not? There's no reason for it not to. You know, do they have any good reason not to bring that stuff in? They need to bring it all in there if they can. Let's see. What else we got? Okay, so I guess we can since you guys okay, wait a minute. Superhero is basically a year before the end of Z. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. So it's about to go past the end of Z? Vegeta Lover 92. I like the Static Shock cartoon show. I haven't watched it, so I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a full episode of that show. If we're being honest, I think that was after my time before I started. After I watched Saturday morning cartoons and superhero cartoons and stuff like that. Like I was more of a X-Men, Batman, Superman kind of thing, and I didn't really get Static Shock. I think it came too late on my screen. But I'm gonna go back and watch it eventually. The character is very interesting though, because you got this nerdy black kid who knows a lot about science, but they changed his origin in the new series, and I just it made me roll my eyes so hard. But I did like it in the comic books because he had a gun and he's going to shoot the bullies, and he had gone through the trouble of getting the gun and finding the bullies and everything, and he was going to shoot them. And that's when he realized, he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to be that kind of guy. He didn't, and then he ended up getting power not too long after that. Leith LZ, rank all the Robins from your least favorite to most favorite. I personally don't care for Damian Wayne or the female Robins from the Frank Miller comic. Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't like any Robins. I don't like any of them. But if I had to rank my favorite Robins, it would probably go in the order that they were created, with the exception of the Frank Miller's Robin. It should probably be at the bottom. So it'll probably be Dick Grayson, then Jason Todd. I think that Jason is interesting. I like Jason because he became Red Hood, and that's really the only thing I care about when it comes to Jason. Tim Drake is not my favorite character. He's just kind of boring. I know Stephanie Brown was Robin, but she wasn't Robin very long, so she would go near the bottom. Damian Wayne, they write him so terribly. I hate him so much. He's such an annoying little piece of shit. He's an annoying fucking character, man. Like, a lot of Robins are super annoying. It's hard to get me to care about a Robin, to be quite honest. Ali Hankerson, I personally have Jennifer as a lawyer in Daredevil, join the Defenders, and have Matt train her until it's time for Secret Wars. I think that having Jennifer as a lawyer in Daredevil is a great usage of her. To have her join the Defenders, I would think, yes, because it would put her in a team with other superheroes. And I think in comic form, that was always the best usage of She-Hulk, is to put her in a team with other people so she can have a personality and bounce off of other people. That would be nice. But I think the Defenders as a concept was a flop, and they don't want to go back to it. Because they never even talked about doing another Defender series after they did it with Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil, and Iron Fist. But that was their fault because they didn't put the effort forth, I don't think. Kenny 2, you think they're going to bring Future Trunks back? I think Dragon Ball's at the position now where they're going to do fan service, man. If they means they have to bring back Trunks, they'll do it. I don't know. It's just, I don't see any reason why they won't. Why they would keep him away, Vegeta Lover. Why would they keep Trunks away? Maybe they'll do something slick and have maybe Trunks' kid come from the future or something like that. In which, that might be it. But they're going to be doing this whole multi-universe thing. They may extend it and say all these multi-universe or multi-planets or whatever. And maybe they'll start doing across time. Maybe that's the next thing they'll do. They'll have Xeno Xing out time streams, maybe. Kenny 2, maybe Frieza going to want his revenge for when he killed him. Yeah, that's me hoping they keep Frieza evil though. That's my hope, But Frieza doesn't seem to be interested in revenge right now. He's kind of plotting. What is he plotting? I don't know. But I like Frieza as the idea of Frieza as a recurring villain, like when he was the one who brought Broly and to unleash him on the other Saiyans. That was interesting to me. I thought that was pretty nice. I'm not even gonna hold you up. I thought that was a good usage of Frieza. He's a villain. He should be doing that stuff. And him having a Saiyan under his employ that could do what he wants is excellent. Frieza evil as fuck. Yeah, but they in terms of power though, They were toying with babyface Frieza, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that shit at all. Maybe they'll do multiverse tournament of power and a multi-time tournament of power where he'll go across time streams. This is off topic, but in a previous live stream, someone mentioned MGTOW. You said you talk about it in a future live stream. Could you talk about the topic on the next live stream? Sure, I'll talk about MGTOW in the future live stream. Sure, that ought to be an interesting subject to discuss. Vegeta Lover 92. Frieza wants to overthrow the Omni King. Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, so he's basically biding his time until he can do that. And I like that, that's the thing that's keeping him evil is his ambitions. Hopefully that's the end of the series as Frieza actually does overthrow Zeno somehow. Maybe through the power of the Dragon Balls or something. And he ends up, maybe removing the Omni Kings, killing them, and he just starts massacring angels or something like that. That could be great. Having Frieza blow up an angel planet or something like that could be fun. And he could be like the ultimate villain of the series. That could be great. But will they do it? Probably not, because Dragon Ball is worth like how many billions of dollars. They're never going to end that shit. It's never going to end. Dragon Ball is going to end up like an American comic book, like Spider-Man or Batman or something, where it's just going to go on and on and on infinitum. It's going to go on forever because it's worth too much money for them to stop making it. They tried. They tried to stop making it, and then they're not going to. Frieza should collect the Super Dragon Balls. Well, I'm going to guess that they're probably going to have, since they introduced it in Superhero, they're probably going to have somebody protect the Super Dragon Balls. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they have, like, I don't know, what's the name of that? The High Priest. They probably have him collect the balls and keep them, or something like that. Ali Hankerson. It's for real hard to build a decent roster until Secret Wars get made after Tony and Steve passed. Fantastic Four, X-Men, Daredevil, Hulk, Spider-Man, and Thor is the best I can do. Yes, but they probably won't introduce the Fantastic Four or the X-Men, which is unfortunate. But it depends on what they're going to do with the next series, which is, what the fuck? It's the Skrulls. Fuck. I forget what it's called. But Secret Wars could be fun. But I think they're gonna do Kang the Conqueror before that too. They're gonna do Kang before that. But well, maybe, to be quite honest, the Fantastic Four should have already been created if they got Kang in the storyline. But that's weird. They legally can't introduce the Fantastic Four. Why not? Don't they have the rights to the Fantastic Four again? Leith LZ, did you ever watch Dragon Ball Evolution? I unfortunately saw it in theaters. I wanted to walk out, but my family wouldn't let me. I watched maybe the first 10 minutes of it, and I was like, you know what? This is stupid. This is stupid. What a stupid movie. It's a real dumb movie, too. WG Phil is Kang, then Secret Wars. Oh, okay. So they're gonna do the Kang multi-time stream. Yeah, Secret Invasion. That's what it's called. When the Skrulls take over everybody. Kang, then Secret Wars. Okay. So is Doom gonna be involved? Like, which version of Secret Wars? Is it gonna be the first Secret Wars or the second Secret Wars? So don't they need the Grand Master to do the Secret Wars? If I remember correctly, they need Grand Master again, right? Secret Invasion could be fun, though. That could be fun. WG feels like the previous Fox movie deal similar to the AOL Time Warner deal. So they got the Fantastic Four and the X-Men tied up until 2025. If that's the case, they probably should not do this. Maybe they shouldn't do any of this. Maybe they shouldn't do any of this so they can use the Fantastic Four. Okay. Quantum Mania, then Avengers 5. That's gonna suck. Avengers 5 is not gonna be good. None of the good Avengers are left, except Thor. And people are gonna be burned out on Thor eventually. I never played the God of War video games, Kenny 2, so I don't know what Kratos can do. But I'm guessing Superman can rip him in half because Superman can rip anybody in half. He just chooses not to. It's I don't like the Marvel Cinematic Universe anymore, man. There's the only people that can add any sort of color to the universe. They can't use them. Just go in a different direction. Like I'm kind of interested in Blade, but I'm also afraid they're gonna fuck it up. You know, I'm really worried about fucking it up, Blade. I'm scared of that. So I really don't. I want to see Blade, but I don't want to watch it either. Leith Elzy, since you're a writer, what's your opinion on the current trend in media where being meta and overly quippy is becoming the norm in dialogue? How do you write dialogue? Well, first you have to figure out what the character would and would not say, and you have to be consistent with it. So sometimes a character might speak in quips because that's how people speak. Like, that might be fine, but all the characters having the same voice and bouncing off of each other, I don't see how they can do that because that's not, reality. It's not real life. And I get that's, Marvel kind of, they took that up and that's kind of what they made. Everybody's full of one-liners. It's like, no, it's not good. Fundamentally, your dialogue should contain content, but it should also express who the character is. Like, if you read Harley Quinn, you should be able to understand it as Harley Quinn talking, even if you don't see her, you know. And I remember, like, when you read, like, if you read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like The Last Ronin, TMNT, you could figure out who the last Ronin was by reading the dialogue boxes. You know, you could just read the dialogue boxes and be like, that's Leonardo talking, so he's probably dead. And then you could be like, well, that sounds a lot like Donatello, so he's probably dead. Like that's kind of how you're supposed to be able to connect dialogue to a character in a way because the character has a unique voice. This is the one thing that Stan Lee probably brought to Ditko and Kirby's comics that people don't give him a lot of credit for. Is you can close your eyes and Ben Grimm talking, with that Brooklyn accent would be perfect. You don't even need to see him in order to know that's Ben Grimm talking. Same thing with Johnny Storm and Spider-Man. He created a voice for those characters where you don't even need to see them to know that's who it is, and that's perfect. Kenny 2, what's your favorite fighting game? Well, Street Fighter 2, of course. It's the GOAT. Street Fighter 2 is one of the best fighting games of all time. But it's almost unplayable today, though, for me. I played that shit way too much as a kid. TN Pyro saw people shitting on Thor already. Yeah, because, Thor has been going on for too long. Uh, there's nothing they can do, though. There's nothing they can do about it. Thor is an eternal character. But having him be the last surviving Avenger is kind of silly, but it's also the only thing that makes sense because he's not human. Ali Hankerson. I also throw in Cloak and Dagger, Guardians of the Galaxy, Nova, and Moon Knight for Secret Wars. I don't think anybody cares about Cloak and Dagger. If we just being honest, I think Nova is a shoe in because it's going to be in space. Especially if it's going to be in space, you need to have Guardians of the Galaxy and Nova. Who the fuck is going to play Nova? I'm talking about Richard Rider Nova. Or are they going to go with the kid? Now, I honestly didn't hate the kid. I didn't hate the kid. But who are they going to have play Richard Rider Nova? That ought to be interesting. And plus, he's a space cop. And in today's world, police and all that kind of stuff doesn't really go too far. People kind of shun that whole police thing. So they probably change what Nova is. It's like I think they're eventually going to change what the Flash is because they know Barry Allen was a police officer. So, in today's world, they don't like police officers, so they'll probably want to change that. Moon Knight and Secret Wars sounds interesting. That sounds fun, though. Not going to hold you up. But would it be the same guy? Would the same guy playing Moon Knight? Because I think he's done, isn't he? I don't think Moon Knight's coming back. So, I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting conundrum, but I don't think that guy's coming back to play Moon Knight. It just seemed like it was hard for him, like It was so hard for him to do, you know, and so many other people. It was hard, and I don't know if Moon Knight was actually successful either. Was it? Was it a success? I don't know. It's a little hard to do. All right, so going back to Naruto, I still want to kick Sakura into the sun because I'm not a big fan of Sakura right now. She's just kind of useless and she eats up a lot of TV time for no reason. Kenny too. Who do you like more as a character, Rorschach or the Punisher? Well, the Punisher, clearly. I'm a huge fan of the Punisher. I have several Punisher comic books. I even have some Punisher comic books I haven't read yet, and I still have them sitting around somewhere out here. Rorschach was fun, and I think he was a very useful character for that series, The Watchmen, being the moral center of the universe. Um, the issue is that they wrote Rorschach to be villainous. At least that's what Alan Moore wanted to do because he didn't like Rorschach, so he wanted Rorschach to be this sort of crazed killer. But the audience basically decided that you wrote a bunch of shitty people, Alan Moore. You know, almost all of your characters are shitty and stupid. They're nihilistic and cynical and horrible and here is Rorschach standing up for all the right things. He's not for, if you wanted Rorschach to be a bad guy, instead of just being kind of rude, I mean, what he broke into, what was this, Night Owl's house and ate his beans or whatever, but that was about the worst thing he ever did. He murdered some guys who tried to kill him in prison. And he murdered somebody who killed a kid or something like that, molested a child. It's like nobody's gonna hate that character, Alan Moore. But that just goes to show how detached sometimes people are from reality. Like you have to be super detached from reality to think that Rorschach was gonna be a bad guy after reading Watchmen. Like, what are you thinking? If you wanted him to be a bad guy, you would want him to do bad guy shit. The comedian is a bad guy. He's a fucking rapist. All right? So, yeah, he's a bad guy. I don't know what Alan Moore was thinking. Dr. Manhattan is a bad guy. He has all this power. He up and turned his back on humanity. Night Owl was fucking his friend's girlfriend. Like a lot of the people are scumbags. And Rorschach he's not perfect, but he's not as bad as those people. They're the shits. Leith LZ, do you play any of the Tomb Raider games or see any of the movies? I used to watch the Angelina Jolie movie a lot because I had a crush on her as a kid. I loved the original Tomb Raider games when Eidos originally created the character. It was fun. Tomb Raider was kind of bland because it was just you and Laura in a cave getting chased by tigers or whatever. But it was fun. You had your guns and you could swing on stuff and it was a fun game. Now she moves very stiff, when you had to turn her all the way around and that was kind of questionable. But the early Tomb Raider games were really fun and I really enjoyed them. So the first 2 or 3 Tomb Raider games were very good. Since they rebooted the franchise, I have not played anything. As far as the movies are concerned, I saw the Angelina Jolie movies too. I didn't think they were awful. I didn't see the most recent Tomb Raider movie. I'll probably have to go back and watch it eventually. But I didn't think that the Angelina Jolie movies were that bad, but they were typical action 2000s movies, And I think that with Tomb Raider, you need to have a MacGuffin. She is girl Indiana Jones. So maybe, they should have gone more with that. But I don't know. They just kind of went with generic action movies. But I like Tomb Raider, especially the early Tomb Raider games. This shit was good. And Lara Croft was a fun character. She wasn't a stick in the mud. She wasn't all girl powery. She wanted to do her dad proud. She grew up rich. And she liked going basically spelunking. Going into... She was a thrill seeker. It was kind of fun. T and Pyro thought Moon Knight was getting another season. I don't know. I haven't heard about Moon Knight getting another season. I don't know if the show was successful. Like, I don't know what success means in the streaming services. because there's plenty of shows that, if we're being honest, it probably shouldn't get renewed. Um, Kenny two, Doctor Manhattan or Thor in a fight, or because Doctor Manhattan can do whatever he wants. He can change the molecular, structure of pretty much anything. He could just zap Thor out of existence if he wanted to. You know, so I don't know, man. But Doctor Manhattan is not. I mean, he's not really a fighter. I think people like putting Doctor Manhattan against other people because they've seen what he can do in his universe. But Doctor Manhattan was the only person in his universe with superpowers. He was literally the only one. If you take him out of that universe and put him into other universes with people who also have superpowers, he's not going to be as powerful. He's not going to look as powerful. That's why I did not read Doomsday Clock. I'm not going to lie, I did read Doomsday Clock. I didn't read the end, though. I read up to the point where they had Superman meet Dr. Manhattan. Then I was like, you know what? I don't care about this, and I didn't read anymore. But to me, bringing the Watchmen into the regular DC universe was so dumb. It was so dumb. Doing those prequels that they did for the Watchmen was stupid. It was dumb. I mean, why would you? I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to expand that universe. But they did what they typically do. It was a mistake when they did it with Vertigo, when they brought Constantine into the regular DC universe. It was stupid. Why did they do that? It's okay for characters to exist outside of the regular universe, man. And to be quite honest, sometimes it's for the best. Marvel probably could be able to sell it Inhumans or Eternals comic book if they weren't tied to the overall universe. If the Eternals had their own universe where they're the only heroes in it, they probably would be better off than them just being another set of heroes in the Marvel hero universe. And the Inhumans are essentially just the X-Men. So they could definitely do better if they were the only characters in their own universe. I don't know, man. I don't know why they do that. They like doing the old crossover, Constantine, Batman crossovers and that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, that's nice and all. You could have done that and then kept Constantine in his own universe. He doesn't need to be in the universe with Batman, I hate that shit. So Dr. Manhattan being in the same universe as Superman. I know they're continuing to do that too, because there was a new what was this thing? A new thing where Dr. Manhattan was trying to catch the Flash or something like that. It was not a fan. Leith Elzy, have you read The Sandman by Neil Gaiman? Will you be watching the Netflix show? No, on both of those tips. Neil Gaiman, I've heard that he's such a great comic book writer, but I've read Neil Gaiman novels. I read Anansi Boys, and I read American Gods. I can tell you, Neil Gaiman is so boring. And considering he was a novelist first, and look, I can maybe, stuffy, pretentious British guys are good comic book writers, but I've heard tremendous things about Sandman, but I've never been in a rush to read it because I was so disgusted by Neil Gaiman's novels that I can't read this shit. It was so boring. It's so pretentious and over the top. It's the same thing with Morrison, where they're trying to they get too high, and they forget that stories should teach simple things and not trying to be super high concept all the time. It's like not always the case, not always necessary for you to be super high concept all the time. It's okay for things to be simple. Simple is good. Dr. Manhattan as a villain for the Avengers would give them hell. Yeah, but I don't understand why Dr. Manhattan is a villain. Like, that's the thing. Like, Dr. Manhattan is an asshole, but he really just wants to be left alone. Like, what is his villainous motivations? That's the thing about Dr. Manhattan being a villain that I don't necessarily understand. It's like, I get why he's not a good guy, because he turned his back on all of humanity and goes to sat on Mars and just sat there. But that doesn't make him a villain. He just kind of removes himself from humans and their issues But now you're going to tell me that all of a sudden he's going to get more involved in humans and their issues. Okay, why? Why does Dr. Manhattan want to get involved with the DC universe or Marvel universe or anything? Like, why? Um, Leith Elsie, I didn't finish American Gods either. It was boring. The thing is, I did finish the book and I found it incredibly boring. It was the same thing with a Nancy Boys where I pushed my way through it, but I was like, God, this book sucks. And I noticed the his his fetish in those books for emasculated male heroes, and that really kind of turned me off from the beginning. Is in both of those books you have stories of the main character basically just pining for a woman who's fucking other people, and it's like really bizarre. It was real bizarre in American Gods. Like that was crazy. I tried watching that TV show though. I think I watched probably 2 episodes of it and didn't watch any more. Um, but American Gods was a show that people kind of liked because they liked what was his name, Orlando. They liked his version of Anansi, which I agree. I thought that was great. But American Gods, nah, man, I'm good on that. I think after a certain point, it's kind of lost its luster, and that book was boring as shit. I think the part where I really wanted to quit that book is I think he spent, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 pages describing like where they were driving and through Indiana or something like that. And he was talking about wheat fields and signs and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, bro, it's okay to write a short pocketbook. Guys like Donald Goins have done it. Edgar Rice Burroughs have done it. Tons of people have made an entire career off of writing books that are 200 pages of concise, tight storytelling without needing to get bogged down in the minutia of what color the grass was on a highway in Indiana. Fuck you for writing that. I don't want to read that shit. It's boring. That's definitely not something you're going to translate into the TV show, the comic book, or anything else. That's just you being a fucking idiot. Get the hell out of here. And any good editor would have cut all that crap out anyway. But it goes to show that he could do whatever he wants, because a good editor would have said, "Man, we don't even need all this." Leith Elsie, have you ever watched the adult cartoon Duckman? The voice actor was Jace Alexander, the guy from Seinfeld. If you haven't watched it, go online. I think you'll like it. I did watch Duckman. I watched it when I was a kid. Yes, I haven't seen it in ages though, but yeah. The guy George Costanza from Seinfeld, he was the voice for Duckman. It was tremendous. I remember it being a really fun show. It used to come on around I think it came on after Monday Night Raw. It was one of those mini shows that came on after Monday Night Raw that I kind of watched every now and again, like La Femme Nikita. Like I was kind of like, okay, let's see what this show is about. But I do like Duckman. I need to go back and watch it. Ali Hankerson, if the X-Men ever made a movie, they should wait till the sequel to add Wolverine or reference him at the end credits. I agree. I think if you put Wolverine in the movie immediately, it's going to become a Wolverine movie. And plus, once you recast Wolverine, it's going to be a whole new problem. People are going to hate whoever you recast as Wolverine. I can tell you that right now. People are not going to like it. So whoever it's going to be, save it. just save it. But I have a problem with X-Men right now anyway, because there's no guarantee it's even going to be called X-Men. And you know that. It might be called The Mutants. I've been saying a lot of that too. They might call it The Mutants because, X-Men is not, it's not inclusive enough. G Lover got a wrestling question here. Besides MJF, who do you think is the best on the mic out of the young guys in AEW? Well, clearly the answer is Ricky Starks. There was a comment Ricky Starks made on Twitter that I thought was very interesting. When people were talking about pillars in AEW, and that Ricky Starks should be considered a pillar or whatever, Ricky Starks responded by saying, he doesn't want that. He feels like, those guys can get left enclosed in that. He'll be something greater or something to that effect. So I guess it seemed like he was offended that he wasn't considered a pillar at first. But now he's kind of blossoming. People are trying to put him in that conversation, and now he's like, no, I don't want to be involved." But I think I said that I think I said that at the time. Like, a lot of the guys that they picked to be pillars they weren't good promos and they weren't good characters, and then they weren't doing anything with them. So Ricky Starks is easily, if he was considered a pillar, he'd be up there with MJF. He just hasn't gotten the push that everybody else got. The Kid, you watch What If animated series? I did not. I don't like What If comics, so I probably wouldn't have watched the animated series either, if we're being honest. Plus, I think Marvel kind of they shit on all of their animated series. It's not good. It's not good. He's the foundation. Who's the foundation? Jonathan Gresham and Jay Lethal are the foundation. And you ain't heard? Surely you don't think Ricky Starks is the foundation. Because why would he be the foundation? Those guys, he's better than all of those guys. He should be like the roof or something like that. Let them be pillars. He could be the roof. He could be shingles or something. To keep with that analogy. Leith LZ, did you ever read any of those French Belgium comics such as 1010 Asterisk, etc.? I used to love those as a kid. I never really got into that kind of stuff. Even today, it's hard to find that kind of shit. Like when I go into the European section of my comic book shop, it's all those big graphic novels. Like they have Valerian, those joints, but I haven't read any of them. But stuff like 1010, no. Now I do have a couple of 2000 AD books because I am a big fan of Judge Dredd. But I haven't read any French and Belgium comics now. I would be interested in it though. 1010 is French or Belgium, Belgish, Dutch, Belgium is Dutch, right? I don't know. Yeah, Jonathan Gresham is the foundation, sir. Jay Lethal is the foundation, sir. I'm surprised he didn't go back to Impact, Jonathan Gresham. Why didn't he go back to Impact? He could have did so well there. I don't know. Guys got to stop being scared to go to Impact, man. Sign a long-term contract in Impact. Go and commit yourself. Unless you're a young guy like Chris Bay or something like that, you might have an opportunity. I don't know what he might do. I guess going to Progress or something like that is better for him, but I don't know, man. That seems to suck. It seems to be pretty stupid. I see that Don Tony is also live right now, so no wonder I don't have a lot of people on here. Ricky the Light Starks. Ugh, Light, the Light. I don't know. I like Absolute. That's dope. I liked his original moniker, but Stroke Daddy. But they said he couldn't use it on TNT or whatever, which is stupid. Because considering all the cussing they were doing, they wouldn't let him use Stroke Daddy. They were saying shit, bitch, and hell, Jericho even lit a cigarette or something like that on TV. But he couldn't use Stroke Daddy. That's crazy. These people are just, what kind of stupid rules are they come up with? And why are they coming up with them? It's kind of foolish, bruh, if we're being honest. All right, any more comments or suggestions, things y'all want to talk about? I'll give y'all a couple of more minutes because you seem to be running out. Reality is here. I was finally able to catch one of these streams. What's up, Manga? What up? What up, man? How y'all doing? Vegeta 92. Absolute what though? That's a good question. That's up to him to define. When he says that he's absolute, what does that mean? And I like it because it's catchy, but you do have to say absolute what, But I love how they use the the lighting on his vignette entrances though. Like those things are absolutely tremendous. They're really good. Laith LZ, are you a fan of Studio Ghibli? work. I think they're overrated. Uh, Give me some. Um, I probably wouldn't know what Studio Ghibli was, but maybe if you give me some examples of what shows they did, I would be able to answer. There was a TV show. I think it was a Netflix anime called Super Crooks, and it was based off of a Mark Miller comic book, and it was kind of boring. It kind of sucked. I think that Wanted was probably, well, I think Kick Ass is the most popular Mark Miller thing, but Wanted was absolutely changed fundamentally to be good, because Wanted, the comic book, was trash. It was absolutely trash. Vegeta 92, have you seen Godzilla films? I've seen quite a few of them. I've seen a couple of Godzilla films, man. I kind of like kaiju movies, but I don't. I hate the human characters usually, and since they're the point characters that you have to follow, because you can't follow Godzilla, he's a monster, or she's a monster rather. Sometimes the human characters aren't that interesting. It's like Transformers, where they put human characters in it so that you could experience it through that human character's position. But if you don't like the human characters, then it's gonna fall on its ass. And that's exactly what happened in Transformers. That everybody hated it because everybody hated the human characters. Um, Godzilla versus Kong was okay. Um, Vegeta lover. Godzilla versus Kong was alright. I didn't mind that. Studio Ghibli movies. Spirited Away, Ponyo, My Neighbor Totoro. Spirited Away is good. Spirited Away is good. I love the animation in that joint. I like it. Reality. The Iron Man comics haven't been good in a while. That's saying a lot. Iron Man comics have not been good in like 15 years. Jesus Christ. What would you do to fix the character? I think the best thing they tried was when Doom was Iron Man for a while. Doom being Iron Man. It was an interesting idea. That I didn't like, because Doom is evil, and Doom should always be evil, and Doom trying to be Iron Man make no sense. To fix Iron Man, for starters, they probably should reboot the whole fucking character, because for starters, Iron Man has done so much to his own body, and they've done so much to his lore. They fucked up everything Iron Man. For starters, they're now saying that Iron Man was not really the son of the Starks, which of course destroys his whole concept of his relationship with his father. You got to restore all of that stuff. You got to go through and restore everything that has to do with his family. You got to fix that. I think who was it that put his mom in the comic books? Who the fuck was that? They had his mom be like a shield agent or something like that. It was so stupid. Get her out of the comic book. She's supposed to be dead. That's supposed to be like his real birth mom. That sucks. Now you want to give him a brother or something like that? Okay, but the parents has to be dead. I don't hate the Arnold Stark idea. Now, how could you make Iron Man interesting? And I think you put Iron Man in situations that are similar to what Stan Lee had for the idea of the character, which is Stan Lee said that he wanted to create a character that people would naturally not like, but force the people to like him. And that's what he wanted with Iron Man. That hasn't changed. The people who didn't like Iron Man, or didn't like a multimillionaire, a Howard Hughes type of character in the 1960s, those people still exist today. That's why they're always trying to make Batman broke and make Tony Stark give away all his money, or have a Hellcat lecturing him about his white privilege and all that bullshit. Get away from all of that crap. You showed what Stark can do, with his money. You don't make him some, bleeding heart SJW. That's not who Tony Stark is. That's never been who he is. But he's a guy who has confidence and stands up for himself. So if somebody comes up to him with all of this bullshit about how he doesn't do enough or blah, 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 he should be able to say, this is what I do with my money. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. What do you do? He should be I don't want to say an Iron Man style hero because that would not be Iron Man either, but he should have more libertarian elements than most other superheroes. Iron Man is almost perfect for a libertarian superhero. You know, he can't be conservative, and he can't be liberal. He kind of has to be sort of a libertarian because he works off of government contracts. So he knows about government waste and different stuff about that. But he also understands that the government wants to take the Iron Man suit from him and take all the technology that he's creating. They want to take it from him. So he knows about all that too. And he also believes in himself and his own decision making. This was the problem that they had in Civil War, where they gave Iron Man the position of being basically a government stooge. It makes sense from the perspective of, yes, he builds weapons. He knows about the danger of weapons, and that weapons in the wrong hands cause, these problems, and powers are essentially weapons. I get that. But he should have been hands off. That should be his thing, is let me save the world. Let me do what I can do to save the world. And I think they established that very well in the MCU, where, people kept trying to take the Iron Man armor. He was like, it's my private property. You can't take it from me. No. I'll do my own thing. I'll create, I'll fix climate change. I'll do it myself. That's more of a Tony Stark thing. And even though I don't like those kind of ideas, I think that if they wanted to make Tony Stark more of that kind of guy who tackles climate change through, entrepreneurship and stuff like that, trying to create new things, and maybe people don't like it. Like, there's nothing that says that Tony Stark can't go against the auto industry. Maybe Tony Stark's trying to build new solar panels or something like that. He's created solar panels that can absorb solar energy even when the sun is down, or it can store solar energy for longer periods of time or whatever. And auto industry or somebody else is, whose business is going to be affected by that, is trying to sabotage his plants and plans and all that kind of stuff. That's how you turn that shit around. But they really need to get back to basics with Iron Man. Like, he was really good in the 80s. Like, it was really good in the 80s. And it sucked that, in the 90s and the early 2000s or whatever, we got away from Iron Man being a really cool character who had a unique perspective on the world and a unique approach to everything. And yeah, he wasn't always going to be the moral center. That was more Captain America's thing. But he was going to bring a very useful perspective to an Avengers story. And his own, to be quite honest. Leith LZ. I didn't like the reveal of Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond, being Bruce's biological son. What's your opinion on it? I didn't like it either. I didn't finish Batman Beyond all the way through, but I did know that occurred. And I was just kind of like, well, they could. The temptation was clearly going to be there. That's stupid, And plus they had that gross relationship with Barbara in there too. That was gross, dog. I'm gonna watch Batman Beyond eventually too. But I'm also not a fan of the look of Batman Beyond. Like, he doesn't have a neck. Like, it's all, like, he doesn't even have a chin. Like, it's just all black. It's crap. I hate it. Vegeta Lover 92, Tony Storm marries Ricky Starks, becomes Tony Starks, and wears armor to the ring. I think that might get over. You might fuck around and get her over. Ali Hankerson. I'd have the Boulevard Trask and the Sentinels in the first X-Men movie, Magneto, Mystique, Juggernaut, Toad, Blob, etc. for the sequel, and Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister, and Onslaught for the third. Interesting thing about the Sentinels. I think you have to establish the mutants first before you bring the Sentinels in. So I would have Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants be the villains in the first movie. And then I would have the Sentinels be in the second movie. So I basically just reverse your first two. Because Magneto would be a good reason to bring in the Sentinels. because Magneto basically wants to hit the fucking planet with an asteroid. I'm never going to forget that, by the way. Magneto wanted to kill everybody with an asteroid. Like, come on, bro. You know, he wanted to destroy everybody with an asteroid. Like, come on, man. So I would definitely have Magneto be the first villain. But then I would bring in the Sentinels. You know, so the Sentinels have to come in, and I think that's maybe the most important X-Men thing that they haven't done yet is the Sentinels. And the third, I still would go with God Loves Man Kills. I would still go back with that. I think that they need to adapt that as good as possible. I don't know. It seems to me they need to do it. Reality says, I agree with everything you said on Iron Man. A few people Marvel has actually done that with too, which is pretty sad. Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. Lease LZ, when I becoming a writer, all the big time publishers, most of them white women from New York, wanted me to discuss race in my potential novels. It was so annoying I quit and write for fun only. Here's the thing. I had that very same problem where when I was going through looking for agents for my, writing, it was all, you had to be as diverse as possible. And I actually, it got so bad. I was so desperate one time. And I was like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have my girlfriend put her name on it. And I'm going to send in some stuff under her name. Because I can use a pen name if I wanted to, right? And I just decided not to do it. And I just said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go that far. Because I don't want to have to keep up that ruse. So what I'm going to do is, I don't write for fun. But I do write under the hopes of one day self-publishing. And I think that you should do that too. And I'm very motivated to self-publish after seeing so many people take over, the comic book medium. When they couldn't get what they wanted out of these comic book companies, they just decided to write their own books and, pay the artists themselves and do it themselves. And I say, well, look, shit. It started happening in novels and stuff first. It was really bad there first. And we can self-publish. And yeah, you could self-publish and then Amazon could take your book down or something like that. But you don't have to go through all that. You can just, pay somebody to do the cover. And I'm still thinking about it myself. I don't know if I have a book that I've written that I'm comfortable enough self-publishing. But when I feel like I have one, it's on and popping, man. Fuck this, these big time publishers wanting you to, trade on your race and gender, and you gotta they're basically gonna co-write your fucking story. I'm not interested in that. Leith LZ has another comment. Have you any similar stories with book agents or publishers? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I never specify my race or gender, and I never get a contact back, If I was to say I was a black female or whatever, and also about, how do you choose to pitch it, but yeah, man, I can tell you straight up, you can just read some of the notes that they put out for what they're looking for, and it's always LGBTQ, black women voices. We're trying to elevate the voices that are marginalized, or whatever the fuck all that stuff means. And it basically just means, hey, you wrote a story that's just fun and exciting and not somebody crying about race. Oh, well, too bad. We can't get nothing for you, so I don't be bothered with it anymore. I stopped looking for agents 2 or 3 years ago. So now I'm just writing stuff about getting going forward. Reality, like for instance, I think Black Panther Storm ruling over Wakanda was pretty cool, but then they reversed it and had Namor completely destroy Wakanda and messed everything up. I was never a really big fan of the Black Panther Storm Wakanda angle. Black Panther and Storm even getting married made no sense to me. It's just something that Reginald Hudlin did because they were the two most prominent Black African characters. But to me, it never came across as being natural. You have two alpha male personalities in Storm and T'Challa, and it was always somebody's going to have to leave their people in order to handle that other issue. Like in today's books, they just put Storm all up and through T'Challa's book. But back when they first started doing this stuff, X-Men was actually important, and you couldn't have Storm tied up in the Black Panther book. You just couldn't do it. You know, it just doesn't make sense to do that. And you certainly weren't going to tie Black Panther up in the Storm book or in the X-Men book. Even though you probably could have got away with it because Black Panther wasn't that important at the time. So you probably could have gotten Black Panther tied up in the X-Men. The problem with that would be Black Panther is a king. He can't really leave Wakanda. So is he going to abandon Wakanda to hang out with Storm? Probably couldn't write that either. So that's why it really never made sense for them to be a couple. And also for Storm, it probably would make more sense for her to have a relationship with somebody that she already knows, or somebody she has something in common with. Like, she had nothing in common with T'Challa. You know, just the fact that they're both African. They're not even the same kind of African. Like, she's Kenyan and he's Wakandan. I don't know where the fuck those two things are on a map. But outside of superheroing, they have nothing in common. You know, as opposed to Storm's relationships with mutants, where, you know, she has that commonality with them in terms of both being mutants. That makes sense. You know, it just never made any sense for me, period, outside of Reginald Hudlin wanting to do it. And then they quickly broke it up. And then everybody since then has been playing with it and going back and forth with it. And to me, either go all in and have Storm leave the X-Men and move to Wakanda, or have T'Challa move to America and live in the Xavier school or whatever, or just cut it off. You know, let it go. Let it fucking go. Vegeta Lover. So what do you know about Shippuden? I just know that they're teenagers in Shippuden. Or they're older teenagers. That's the only thing I know about it. And it's after regular Naruto. And I haven't seen Shippuden clearly either. But I'm going to get through regular Naruto first before I get to Shippuden. Leith LZ. Do you have any unique writing rituals? For example, do you write only in a specific place? Or do you always write your drafts by hand? I usually come up. It depends, because I'm one of those writers that if I write the ending first, I'm probably never going to end it because I already know the ending. I like knowing the world that I'm going to write in, and I like knowing the characters. So I'll usually come up with a character Bible before I started writing. And that's usually what I do. Like earlier today, I came up with some ideas for some stories because I was like, oh, this is interesting. I don't know what I was doing. I was just kind of walking around. And as I was walking, I came up with some stuff. So when I got back home, I just wrote some bullet points on a sheet of paper and put it to the side. I'm not going to write out the entire story, because if I was to do that, I would spoil it for myself and I would never sit down and actually write it. So I'm going to come up with some characters, and, you know, I got to come up with a central conflict. And usually I do that through my bullet points, and I come up with a central conflict, and usually I just go from there. Like, I created this entire universe called Johari, which means jewel in Swahili. And I wrote a main story for it. I wrote 3 main stories for it. I'm going to have to go back and rewrite them all, because I didn't really come up with them the way that I wanted to initially. But I liked the world that I created, and I liked the tribes and stuff that I created. So I just started writing ancillary short stories about 20,000 words for each, or 10,000 words, or whatever, 10 to 20,000 words for each joint. And I just create different characters in that world. And I say eventually I could just, put 3 or 4 of those together and create a sort of an anthology. But so that's what I do. But generally speaking, I just come up with a central conflict, or I'll just sit down and just free write it. What have I ever wanted to talk about? Like, I create another character called Small Axe. It's basically my version of Conan the Barbarian. And I just sit around and come up with what would be a cool sort of Conan the Barbarian story. And I would write, try to make it as short as possible. And that would be sort of, an interesting thing that I would do. But I would also just write out what I want to write about, what the themes are for the character, for the story. I would write all that stuff out, and then I would sit down and write the story. And sometimes I won't even refer to it. I just want to get it on some paper so that I'll know what I'm doing. And then I'll come back to it probably when I'm done with it and say, okay, did I put this in here? If I didn't, did I put something I liked more in there? You know, if I didn't, then I had some revisions to do. Reality, who's your favorite Naruto character so far? Rock Lee, without a shadow of a doubt. Rock Lee is very cool. You know, I like that Rock Lee as a character is he's an eternal underdog, in so much that he's very good, but it's also because of his work ethic. Like he doesn't have any, chakra. Like he can't do all of the crazy jutsus that they can do, but through sheer work ethic, he's competitive. He doesn't need to win in order to show how competitive he is against people who technically are so much better and stronger than he is. And I love that. That's why I say I wish he was the main character, because there's so much you can learn from Rock Lee, especially since this character is so optimistic and so driven and so focused. He's excellent. I also like Shikamaru. Big fan of that character too. Mainly because it's a familiar character to me in terms of I'm kind of the lazy genius. I like that idea. The guy's pretty much faces reality and takes reality head up. I'm a big fan of Orochimaru too. He's pure evil. That's tremendous. You gotta have a great appreciation for a good bad guy. And Orochimaru, and for a while I was confused about what his motivations were. And I'm not sure if they were his manga motivations, but his desire to be immortal and to learn all the jutsu possible. And, using a forbidden jutsu to switch bodies, like consistently switching bodies. So it's tremendous. It's really good. So Vegeta Lover 92 is a 3-year time skip. They are 16 and 18 by the very end. Oh, okay, so Shippuden is late teens. Okay, so this would be early teens. All right, fair enough. Ali Hankerson. I'm currently writing a story about a puppet named Vigilante who uses psychology as a psychologist in a mental institute in the hopes to rehabilitate his foes. That could be interesting. A guy who uses a puppet to try to, provide therapy to his enemies. Interesting. I will interested in reading that. Yeah, I like Orochimaru. At this point, the third Hokage is trying to rip his soul out. But other than that, it's very good. I like Orochimaru. He's just evil, man. He's evil from the moment you come across him, and there's no Orochimaru used to be a good guy. There's almost always everybody's ever known him to be an absolute scumbag, and who uses people for his own benefit and discards them. And almost all of his fucking jutsu are forbidden. So I love it. He's just a complete and total asshole. And he's trying to kill the Hokage. Like that fucking rules. What's your opinion on Kabuto? I like Kabuto. I like manipulative, deceptive characters like Kabuto. When he first showed up, I was like, yeah, there's something up with this fucking guy. He said he failed the tuning exams like 3 or 4 times or something like that. I was like, what the fuck? Hell no. There's definitely something suspicious about that. And something suspicious they would keep letting him try. I was like, why would they keep letting him try? But yeah, I kind of like Kabuto too. I like the villains, man. The villains are pretty good. And I think that's kind of, what the strong suit of Naruto is right now. Leith LZ, did you play any of the Sony-owned properties like Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, or Ratchet and Clank? I played all of those as a kid. I played Jak and Daxter, I played Sly Cooper, and Ratchet and Clank as a kid. Jak and Daxter, wait a minute. Ratchet and Clank is no, I might be thinking of something. Is it the bear and the chicken or whatever? Which one was that? I think I might have just played Sly Cooper then out of this one. I think I played Jak and Daxter too. I'm pretty sure I played Sly Cooper. That's the raccoon thief. But Ratchet and Clank, I'm trying to remember what that is. Yeah, I think one of them is a bear, and the other one is, or something like that. One is a cat or something like that. All of these are like animals. So I'm trying to remember which animals they were, because I know it was a long stretch of time where like that kind of shit was coming out, where it was these animal themed games, and they kind of popped up out of nowhere in like the early 2000s. Vegeta Lover 92, the villains stepped up and down in some ways in Shippuden. I know it gets a little bit more violent in Shippuden, but I'm liking the villain so far. What's your favorite comic book character? It depends on when you ask me. Since you asked me right now, I'll say Daredevil. I'm really a big fan of Daredevil because he doesn't really have superpowers per se. He has more of a super perception, where the waste that got into his eyes gave him radar, but it didn't. He could still be shot and beat up and blown up. And I have a soft spot for that kind of guy. I'm really a big fan of that. And I like the Punisher. Really a big fan of the Punisher too. So Punisher and Daredevil are two of my favorites. Clearly Batman, but I think Batman has too many gadgets. I'm currently reading Scott Snyder's and Greg Capullo's Court of Owls though. I got volume 1 and I got volume 3. I got them from Ollie's, so I should be having fun with that. I really try not to read too much Batman, by the way. I try to stay away from Batman as much as possible. Reality, who's your least favorite superhero? Mine is Black Bolt. I'm a huge fan of Black Bolt. I think Black Bolt is cool. Problem is that, the Inhumans, not a lot of good characters, not a lot of good stories coming out of the Black Bolt solo series was very good. I liked it. The only good thing that Saladin Ahmed actually wrote was the Black Bolt series. But that was a really bad time for the Inhumans. It sucked. It was a good series, but it was a bad time for the Inhumans. As far as least favorite superhero, I don't know. I have characters I don't really care for. Typically, I don't really like the Flash. Because it seems like the Flash is he runs fast. That's his gimmick, and everything with the Flash is fast. So it's like it's 100 characters that just run fast. I really hate that. But usually it's like I hate the Robins. I really can't stand the Robins. So I typically just say Robin. It's like my least favorite comic book character because I avoid reading Robins. They suck so bad. So I just say the Robins, even though it's probably some other characters too that I don't really care for that I can't think of off the top of my head. Ali Hankerson, Spider-Man and Batman are the most debatable in terms of being the best, considering how damn loyal and toxic both fan bases are. Yeah, crazy thing about Spider-Man fan base is that they haven't had a great Spider-Man story in forever. Like you go back in the history of Spider-Man, man, they fucked Spider-Man up. Since the 80s, Spider-Man has been nothing but Clone Saga and a bunch of bullshit, especially up until recently. It's been all bullshit recently. Dan Slott, where he turned Spider-Man into a cuck. Who was that? Was that Nick Spencer that had Spider-Man sleeping on Mockingbird's couch, wearing his girlfriend's shirt, talking about asking me about my feminist agenda? What a stupid fucking book that was. God damn. Spider-Man fans been suffering. Well, I guess Batman fans have too because of Tom King's Batman. Oh, the mommy wife shit. Oof. That sucks. Oh yeah, Batgirl sucks too, but I don't pay Batgirl any attention, so I don't really overthink that. She usually not in anything that I actually read. That's the crazy thing is I can avoid Batgirl by she's not in anything that I read. Unfortunately, I never can get away from fucking Robins. They almost in everything. And they always, like I'm reading Jurassic League with the fucking Dinosaur Justice League, and they put a fucking human Robin in that. So I'm like, oh, for Christ's sake, I can't get away from fucking Robins. They're the most fucking useless characters in the world. But yeah, Spider-Man's probably sucked for 20 some odd years, man. It was real bad. Like they keep adding characters that are kind of cool to it. Like I think Carnage was the last really cool Spider-Man character that was added. I can't think of anybody after that. They tried like Red Goblin and all that kind of shit, but they have done far more damage to Spider-Man than they have to Batman. But they've done a lot of deliberate damage to Spider-Man. It was Banjo-Kazooie with the Bearing the Bird. Okay. Yeah. I played Banjo-Kazooie. That's what I played. Ratchet and Clank, I don't think I ever played that. That was thanks for clearing that up. Because I knew I played one of those two games where it was just kind of animals, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't think Ratchet and Clank is that thing that I played. But Spider-Man, there hasn't been a Spider-Man book written within the last 20 some odd years that I felt like I needed to read. No matter who wrote it. And most of it was Dan Slott writing it. And I was just kind of like, ew, I can't stand reading this shit. So I never really felt like there was anything in the last... And same thing with X-Men. I don't think there's been an X-Men comic written within the last 20 years that you needed to read. Outside of Old Man Logan. You know, and that's be a Wolverine book. Old Man Logan, even the most recent Old Man Logan, not the original that was written by Mark Millar, that's very good. But the sort of revamp of Old Man Logan, when they brought him into the 616, even those books were good. But X-Men, really? Hell no. He suck. You know, that sucks. Vegeta Lover 92, Sami Zayn did the Superman punch on Butch. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's tremendous. I wonder, like, did he do that at a house show or something? Because that sounded like it was fun as fuck. Smash or pass Millennia from Mortal Kombat. I'm guessing you mean Melina. She got a nice body, but she's got a monster face. Like, why would you want to have that monster face? You know, and plus she don't all of those cartons or whatever have like blades in their wrist or some shit. I don't want to fuck with that. I'm gonna have to say pass. Leeds LZ, I recall you saying that you're a Star Trek fan. Do you watch any of the new shows? Did you like the recent movies? The recent movies I didn't mind. I didn't hate the recent movies as much as everybody else did. I do recognize that they're more action based than the original Star Wars was meant to be. The Star Wars was not meant to be shoot 'em up, bang bang, swashbuckling in space. That was never what the idea was. It was more exploration and basically space, not archaeology, but space. What's the word I'm looking for? Basically, they were travelers. You know, you were a traveler, and you were going to new places. You had to respect those cultures and respect those people and all that kind of stuff. You know, so that's really what I liked about Star Trek. But they turned it into shoot 'em up, bang bang, because that's what they thought what people wanted at the time. And it's unfortunate that that's the case, but I didn't hate the new movies. But no, I didn't watch anything outside of the new movies. I didn't see the TV shows. They've done a really great job of shitting all over the Star Trek universe. I have zero interest in it. So it's really unfortunate, but I really don't give a damn about any of that crap. Okay, you put a bag over Melina's head, but then what are you going to do with all of that, with the shit that's going to shoot out of her wrist? You going to put like metal bars on her wrist? Reality opinions on the Avengers versus X-Men comics. Did you enjoy them at all? I'm guessing you're talking about the original Avengers versus X-Men. Not the original, I guess the early 2000s. They did the Phoenix 5 and all that shit. I didn't care for that. To me, it was... If they're superheroes, this is a Marvel thing. I don't get it. If you're superheroes, you're supposed to be able to talk things out. You know? I know the original Avengers versus X-Men comics from the 80s, where the Avengers wanted to put Magneto on trial. Which I think is a great idea. You know, that was a great idea. That's not anything they should have been fighting over, because the X-Men should have been okay with Magneto getting put on trial, because Magneto's a fucking terrorist. It should have been perfectly fine with Magneto getting put on trial. It seemed kind of silly, but the second one, when they were fighting over the Phoenix, I don't know, man. That just doesn't seem right to me. Handcuffs, she can burst through handcuffs. She got like bone things in her wrist. What can you do? There's nothing you can do. She's gonna fucking kill you with those things. So unless you're gonna tie her up like a goddamn like a tentacle, like some tentacle porn or some shit, there's nothing you can do. with Melina. There's nothing you could. What is this? Shawn Michaels talking about China. What? Let's see. Okay. Okay. I see what he means, but we're not going to get into that right now. We'll probably look at that tomorrow. Because I'm looking at it, I'm saying to myself, yeah, buddy, that look is going to be pretty deep. I don't want to jump into that into the middle of this live stream, especially since I'm probably going to wrap it up in about 20 minutes. But yeah, Star Trek it's a really fun series, man. But it's not meant to be Earth bad, humans bad. You're not supposed to spend a lot of time on humanity at all. The differences between humans are supposed to be mostly gone. Like, you're not supposed to talk about capitalism and communism in Star Trek, because that shit's supposed to be dealt with already. And plus we all know that they're space communists already, because they share everything essentially, and they're in a post-scarcity society. So in Star Trek, they have already solved a lot of the problems that we're having now. Like, aliens exist and can target the Earth, so there's no need for racism. They all work together. The only racism really is, between humans and other species, or other aliens and stuff like that. And we come in as mediators to learn about new cultures and to hopefully help solve problems. And that's about it. That's what I liked about Star Trek. And now I'm seeing that, these new shows are getting into modern day politics. And it's like, you're supposed to be above modern day politics, Star Trek. Why in the world is Star Trek now caught up in modern day politics? Like, Star Trek was literally a series where they had men turn into women, or, people who were men in the past life and now they're women. I think that was in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where I think Captain Sisko knew one of the crew members back when the crew member was male. I forget what her name was, but her species jumped from body to body. So now she used to inhabit a male body. Now she inhabits a female body. And it was like, it was very strange to do that. And to turn that into modern day politics, where it was basically science fiction, which that kind of stuff is science fiction. Not to get too much heat on myself, but that stuff is science fiction, man. The ability to jump bodies and to change genders and all that kind of shit. That shit sounds like it's, something out of a damn TV show. It doesn't sound like anything else that could happen in reality. So it is what it is. I didn't see anything about Sami Zayn hitting a Superman punch at a house show, but I believe it. I'm just looking at this Shawn Michaels thing, and a lot of people are really burned alive by his comment about China. And I understand what he was trying to say, but I can just get that a lot of people are really going to have a bad attitude about it. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Speaking of Buddy, a lot of people are mad at him too. That Buddy Matthews. They're very mad at that guy. They're very mad about that guy. Leith Elsie. It's old news, but the Boondocks reboot was canceled. Were you a fan of the show? Also, Stephen Curry and Seth MacFarlane are producing a Good Times cartoon. Do you think it'll be as bad as it sounds? Yes. I don't like the idea of a Good Times cartoon made in current day, but Good Times, because Good Times as a TV show focused on the life of those people at that time, and it was good. I think it really accurately showed, life in the ghetto at the time in the 60s and 70s, But you can also look at Good Times and tell that a lot of that stuff was a moral failing. A lot of the people in Good Times never made it because they didn't want to. They didn't want to make it the way that other people wanted to make it. But the Boondocks being canceled, I knew that was going to happen. Of course, I was a fan of the show. I got most of the series on DVD, the first 3 seasons. So that was exceptional television. Boondocks was some of the best television possible. It was one of the funniest shows ever created. So of course it wasn't going to get to come back. It lambasted Tyler Perry and Oprah. Of course it wasn't coming back. You know, I'm surprised they even let Magruder keep his fingers. I would be surprised they didn't try to break his fucking hands. So it's very bizarre that they would do that. All right. It's 10:15. I've been at this for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I only plan to go for 2 hours. Unless there is something else for you guys to discuss within the next 30 seconds, I'm going to have to start wrapping it up. So, last call. Anything that you guys want to talk about? You got until 10:16 American. Speaking on the Boondocks, King Mike's World. Speaking of the Boondocks, Riley was right. All hell breaks loose when someone throws a chair. Yes. It reminds me of the Joe Hendry vignette. A chair flies through the air. A guy is covered in bite marks. Yeah, somebody throws a chair and everything breaks down. And I'm mad. AEW fanboys are mad. Everyone wants to leave. I mean, you gotta look at how the company is run. The bloom is off the rose. I don't think everybody wants to go back to WWE either. I think some people do. I think most people just want to get the fuck out of AEW. You know? Look, it's a thing where you can blame Triple H all you like. Some of that is bound to be people who CM Punk was friends with, some people who CM Punk liked, that he was cool with in the locker room. They probably hear whispers that he's not coming back. They probably know why. And they like, fuck this. I don't want to be here if he's not going to be here. Or, fuck Kenny Omega. He said he wouldn't hire 80% of us. Let's get the fuck out of here. I mean, it is what it is. You know? There was a time when people wanted to get out of WWE a lot. And AEW fans were laughing and keying and all that kind of shit. And now the worm has turned. The worm has fucking turned. Jesus. Leith LZ, Fat Albert or the PJs. I don't like either one of them, if I'm being honest. I grew up with Fat Albert, but I really don't like the PJs. Joe Hendry taking shots. Hell yeah, Joe Hendry taking shots. On net too. Or maybe they realized Tony is a child. Like I said, Tony didn't do anything when Kenny Omega stood in front of everybody and said, I wouldn't hire 80% of you, even if it was a joke. He didn't do anything about it. That shows that he was spineless. He didn't do anything when CM Punk sat there and went off on the Young Bucks and Hangman Page. Took credit for the entire $1 million gate, despite the fact that a lot of these guys were busting their ass long before he got there. He didn't do anything about that either. He, in fact, didn't really do much of anything to stop any of the problems going on in AEW. And then as soon as a guy leaves, we start hearing that there's some shit. Like Bobby Fish having such hatred and dislike for CM Punk after he left meant that there was some major shit going on in there. You know, because I don't think you ever saw Bobby Fish say anything negative about CM Punk before that. But all of a sudden he goes to AEW, they work together, and he's been doing nothing but talking shit about him. It's like, come on, bro. Clearly something happened in that company that they keep it under wraps. And when it comes to AEW, there's been a couple of times where people have been punished for things, and that shit was kept under wraps. Like when Leo Rush got punished for standing up to Tony Khan after he said what he said about Big Swole. There's bound to be some people who are going to be pissed off because of what he said about Thunder Rosa. I know there were some fans who were pissed off about what he said about Thunder Rosa, about how she can't draw, and so he wasn't concerned about giving her the same amount of time as he gives CM Punk. That was fucked up. You know, So people are seeing that this company is not really all that professional, and so they're bailing. You know, maybe they don't get enough work. Maybe they don't like the push. Their roster is kind of crowded right now, where they're bringing in more people. Guys are starting to look and reevaluate their spot. So I'm not surprised at all that AEW is having the problems that they're having, and I think they would have had these problems even if Triple H wasn't there. Even if Vince was still in the chair, they would still have these problems because the shit that happened with them happened because of what's going on in their locker room, not what's happening and going on in WWE's locker room. Triple H is doing nothing but fanning the flames by offering guys contracts to leave or whatever. He's just fanning the flames. These guys already have problems. They already got an issue. And it's fucking CM Punk, and the Young Bucks. And there is no good guys. There's no baby faces. Despite what Jim Cornette thinks or what anybody else thinks, there's no baby faces. There are two assholes, the asshole Elite and the asshole CM Punk, who can't get along, but they might have friends or whatever that are involved with this. And now this shit is just trickling downhill. Punk probably fake tough guy Bobby Fish, and and Fish wants to fight. Yeah, but it's not going to happen. Punk is worth more than Bobby Fish. Why would he do that? Why would he entertain that? Why would he entertain fighting a dude who makes a fraction of what he makes? He gets paid to fake fight. Bobby Fish doesn't even get paid to real fight, so who fuck cares? King Mike's World, these wrestlers have real lives with real families. They need to know their boss can run a company. Yeah, they need to be able to trust that their boss has their back. I can't believe he let Kenny Omega stand in front of the crowd and say, "Hey, I want to hire 80% of you." Are you fucking kidding me? Even as a joke. Even as a joke. It's not, you don't make that statement, bro. God, some people took that seriously. Yeah, they did. I'm pretty sure some people took that very seriously. Some people took it seriously. Look, I knew something was wrong with AEW when Santana and Ortiz stopped talking to each other. When they stopped being friends, I'm like, okay, something clearly is going on in AEW when Santana and Ortiz aren't even friends anymore. And it was confirmed by Conan that they're not friends anymore. Like, what the fuck is happening? Where these two guys who were thick as fucking thieves just a year and so prior are now don't like each other anymore. Like, that's bullshit. Something is going on. Something is wrong. And it was a lot of situations where you had a lot of these guys, like they promised Private Party all kinds of shit. FTR was promised all kinds of shit. Malachi Black, I mean, come on. That statement he put out, people definitely need to refer back to that statement. When MJF came out, started talking about the money he wasn't making, refer back to that. That's the kind of shit that people, don't forget. People have noticed that kind of shit. They don't forget that. When you had, God, MJF had to go sit home for like 4 months to get the money that he felt like he was owed. Are you fucking serious? That's childish. That's childish. That's stupid. That's stupid. Yeah, Santana and Ortiz been cool forever, and all of a sudden they don't talk to each other no more. What the fuck is going on in that company? Like I don't get it. It's weird to me. And I think CM Punk just being CM Punk blew the lid off of it. Everybody else should have saw it coming. But they didn't because everybody was too busy, blowing kisses and all that other bullshit to AEW. But a lot of people were just mad. A lot of people was mad at Vince. And Vince fired them. That's why they was in AEW in the first place. And we know that Triple H was blowing smoke up guys' asses he wanted the Good Brothers to stay. So he told them, oh, think of your family. Think of your, yada, yada. And then they ended up getting canned. They took that personally, which they were right to. They should have jumped ship, and they probably would be in a better position. But then, hell, they'd probably be suspended right now, too, because CM Punk already got into it with them, too. Yes, I saw the picture of Liv Morgan and MJF, which goes to show that the fan base It's the idiots for fighting and doing all that other dumb shit. It's the wrestlers are usually cool. MJF is from the Northeast. He's from New York. Liv Morgan's from New Jersey. You know, they probably see each other pretty regularly out there in that area. It's just the fucking boss is stupid. You know, and it was really weird that Tony Khan would. I don't know. I don't know, man. I just got a feeling. You know, when look at all the weird shit that happened just this year in AEW. And it started with Cody leaving. Cody, the guy who was Mr. AEW, when he left, everybody knew something was wrong. Especially, that was the break in their momentum. AEW had some tremendous momentum. They got Punk, then Danielson came in, and Adam Cole came in. Then they had the first Grand Slam show. That was solid. Their pay-per-views were skyrocketing up. Everything was looking good. And then Cody left. And then everybody was like, oh, it's going to be okay. We still got Punk and these guys. And then they did that bullshit and they made Adam Page the champion. That didn't shake too well with a lot of people because he was beating Adam Cole, and Adam Cole was losing to Orange Cassidy, and Danielson couldn't beat Hangman, and it started not looking too good. A lot of the guys they were pushing started getting frustrated. You know, Miro and Andrade were the first two complaining, really, because they couldn't get out of the contract. And of course, the Big Swole thing happened. That happened in like January too. That ended up getting Leo Rush up out of there. Then they had the Brian Cage situation where his wife was complaining about him not getting any TV time or anything like that. It just started to slowly build. Slowly over time, it started to build up. And now we're here. So it's not even Triple H did this. It's not even that. It's been a roller coaster that's been building for a while, since Cody left. Because Cody leaving is what showed people that there was something wrong. And something was going on. And then we started hearing all these negative stories that, you know, Cody leaving, he probably signed an NDA not to talk about that kind of shit or whatever. No doubt. But then the Big Swole thing happened. And then everybody was like, oh wow, okay. And then, you know, we started seeing it snowball from there. And it's just inevitable that the CM Punk thing was going to happen. And we don't know who else was offended by various comments that were made. Or, you know, you even had trainers complaining. You had Billy Gunn complaining and JR talking about how nobody listens to him. All this kind of stuff's been going on for a year now. You know? I think Punk coming in started the death knell for AEW because they couldn't go any higher. You know, that was the thing. Like, they couldn't go any higher after they brought in CM Punk. So everything was about trying to maintain that. And they were talking about how, oh, it's going to be a massacre. They're going to beat Raw in the ratings. They got Danielson and Cole and Punk and Moxley all on the same roster with Jericho and MJF. They're going to kill Raw. Not only did they not beat Raw, they started going backwards. You know, it started going backwards. And then, Cody left. Then Swole ended up leaving. Then she blew up the spot. Then Tony said something stupid about her. That set off Leo Rush, and he left. And that cut the balls off of all the black wrestlers, because all the black wrestlers just sat there quietly while Tony Khan shit on Big Swole. She was garbage, but you still don't do that. Then you had all the shit that happened in the middle of the year when you started having guys go down with injuries. You know, long stretches of time where Adam Cole was hurt. Hangman, I think he went and had a baby or something like that. It was crazy. I think that was last year too. But it was like stuff was building. And Punk was supposed to be the savior. He was supposed to be the guy. And he's going to be the destroyer. The guy who caused it all to crumble. And it ain't got nothing to do with Triple H. You know, it ain't got nothing to do with Triple H. If nothing else, Triple H is offering some of these people a soft place to land. Because most of the people weren't doing anything anywhere. Malachi Black wasn't doing anything anyway. Buddy Matthews was doing even less than him. Look, you can probably go count on your one hand how many matches Buddy Matthews had on AEW television. I bet you could look it up, count them on one hand. Miro, same thing. You could probably count them on one hand. Andrade, same thing. You probably count them on one hand. It's that fucked up over there, man. No wonder people are leaving. I think people just want to blame Triple H for it. But it's not really Triple H. AEW has a lot of internal problems that they did not want to deal with, which is their own fault. Fix your shit. Get your shit together. It says, and it's funny because the universe wouldn't let him be the champion. He got injured twice because the universe knew he didn't deserve it. Right. It was good karma, right? Never has there ever been a guy who won a world title and got injured. Won the world title again and got injured again. That has never happened. There's something out there in space, a God he probably does not believe in, who says CM Punk can never be the AEW World Champion. It will never happen. And now apparently it won't happen because he's hurt and they say he's only got like 9 months left back on his contract. He's going to be out for 6 or 7 of those months and he probably won't come back. So for fuck's sake, what really is there to do? I think Tony Khan needs to have a meeting and he needs to just offer blanket releases. Everybody who wants to go, get your release. I'll give you 3 days to think about it. By Friday, he should have signed all of the releases who people who want to go. And then anybody who wants to ask for their release after Friday, say fuck you. No. But give people a chance. I would do it if I was in WWE too. I would just have like 1 day a month where I just go out there and be like, who wants to quit? Who wants out? If you want out, I will give you a blanket release immediately. Sign it right here and there. I don't care who you are. I don't care what level you on. Sasha Banks, you want to quit? Come on up, sign this paperwork, and let's get it done. I think it's better than firing people. Andrade should ask for his release immediately. Look, I'm pretty sure Andrade probably quit that fucking company 100 times already. He's probably quit every fucking week. He's not booked. He's probably quitting. Which is really weird. He really should start cutting his roster because I believe some big names in WWE aren't happy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's probably some people who were being pushed under Vince who aren't getting pushed under Triple H are probably unhappy too. And I'm thinking that's what Triple H is going to end up doing. Is he's going to end up looking at some of the people that Vince liked who are going to be more the entertainment types, the Lacey Evans, the Ezekiels. I think he sent Veer down to NXT. There's going to be some more people, and he's going to end up having to release a lot of those folks. And that's just how it is. That's the way the cookie crumbles. He's going to come in and put his own guys in there. I mean, we saw that coming when he had, Kevin Owens beat the shit out of Austin Theory all those times. But it's unfortunate. I think that they mostly changed Matt Riddle's. They mostly changed his presentation. Like, he's still doing all the jobs that he was doing already. He was basically doing a bunch of jobs already. But he's less over than he was because they changed his presentation. Now he's a lot more serious. I don't know if he should be unhappy about that. I know he probably should be unhappy that he's not getting those rated RKO merchandise checks anymore. I would be pissed off about that. That would upset me. But that had more to do with Randy Orton being hurt than anything. Austin Theory is he's a Triple H guy, But it's just clear that Triple H wants to push other people right now. And that's bullshit. It's the same thing with some of the other people that I'm looking at on the roster that Triple H was dogging out. Like, it's clearly, because Austin Theory is one of the guys he picked up from Evolve and brought to NXT. he clearly likes the kid, but he probably says probably thinks he's too young and not ready and all that kind of shit. So he's gonna put his boot on his neck for a while. It's not necessary. Like, just let the guy do what he's doing. WG Phil, I would like Vince to run a new company with Shane if Trips screw over Theory and Breaker for 5'7" midgets. I don't think Vince got the energy to run another company. He should probably bankroll one though, but he would never run opposition against WWE anyway because he's still the majority owner of that company. He's not going to run opposition to them. That would be dumb, you know. And plus, I wouldn't be sure that once things that over time, Vince's voice is going to be heard eventually. Eventually, he's going to start giving Triple H phone calls. And it's going to be something else. Darren Gordon Hill, did I miss the comics and manga? Yeah, at the beginning, I did a talk about comics and stuff. What if Vince coming back as the White Rabbit? That was I remember they was talking to him about doing that. I think what was that? I think it was it that Adam Rose guy? He had that White Rabbit, and they wanted it to be Vince, and Vince actually thought it was going to be a good idea, but he got talked out of doing it. But he was supposed to be a White Rabbit before. He was going to be the White Rabbit in from the early SmackDown years, from that SmackDown years where that White Rabbit was on there, and he ended up not doing it. That would have been funny as hell though for him to be like a burned out, crusty clown White Rabbit. That'd have been fun. Yeah, Theory should be pressured, but he shouldn't be doing jobs to Kevin Owens like this. This is ridiculous, man. He has not won a match since he won the Money in the Bank briefcase. You know, like what kind of dumb shit is that? That's not how you book a guy. It's not how you push a guy. You know, it seems kind of silly to me. And if they was gonna do something when they changing his character or some shit, they should do that in vignettes. You know, do it via vignettes or via promo, not through the bullshit that we doing now. Nah, I'm not too concerned about Theory or Brian Breaker. I'm more concerned about their push being stalled because of the Garganos and those guys. You know, that's more of what I'm thinking of. I'm not thinking, oh, these guys are going to get fired or anything like that. I'm thinking of they're going to get leapfrogged because they're young guys and it's not mandatory that they get pushed right now. So Theory already had his big push. And his big push, I don't know where that was going. Like, we don't have any idea where that was going. But it was clear that Triple H has taken him off that track. You know, it's clear that Triple H had taken, you know, Theory off the track that he was on. Why? We don't know. But now he's about to do a bunch of jobs for Johnny Gargano. That's some bullshit. And I'm not going to be quiet about that. I'm not a fan of that shit. That sucks. He got distracted in the majority of those losses. What are you talking about, Brian Breaker? Or Austin Theory? Because Austin Theory did lose to Kevin Owens, and it was a distraction. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that, when he lost to Kevin Owens. But he shouldn't be losing anyway. He should be getting disqualified or something. You know, again, the guy hasn't won a match since he won the briefcase. You know, like that's nuts. At least have him beat lower level guys. But I'm actually more mad at Triple H for not doing. I mean, he's fan service and everything, but he's not putting the Hurt Business back together. I'm never gonna let that shit go, bro. I'm never gonna let that shit go. King Mike, Braun needs to be United States champion. I don't know. It's too soon to bring him up to the main roster. There's no rush. Let him be the man in NXT. Let him get some. I think they need to take the title off of him in NXT, and let it be. Yeah, Bianca Belair. What happened to her? You know, it's been a weird situation since Triple H came in. Bianca has been de-emphasized, and it's unfortunate, man. That sucks. They even pushing fucking Dakota Kai and Bailey and shit. That shit whack, bro. Um, so I don't know. NXT is not changing. It's not going anywhere. Like nothing's gonna happen. I don't think anything's gonna change that much at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they put the belt on Dragunov because Dragunov never really got to. He didn't really get to finish his NXT UK run. So they may be adding more of those kinds of people. But I think they need to be careful with that NXT UK stuff, man. Because they adding too many people without giving them characters and shit. So they just bodies on screen. Like I saw them earlier today talking about Jenny. It's like, well, Jenny hasn't been fired yet. She wasn't released. But there's no rush to put Jenny on TV. I mean, Jenny actually has a character, but there hasn't been a rush to put her on TV. Because it's like, for what? Like, what's the rush? Is this a real $20 bill? I don't know. It seems like NXT is just going to go back to what Triple H wanted it to be, which is, I don't know, a super indie. I'm not a fan of that, but I don't expect it to change the recruiting process or who's getting pushed or anything like that. Everybody noticed that, and everybody's been saying it, that Triple H wouldn't push Bianca. He never gave her the NXT title. She never even got close to it. And that's something that Vince changed almost immediately. Again, she got the rocket strapped to her when she came up to the main roster because Vince saw what she could do. That was always the thing that was better in that system where if Triple H liked you, you got to push in NXT. And if Vince didn't really see you, you might have fell somewhere in the mid card of WWE. But if you impressed Vince, you could go from doing nothing in NXT to being a top guy in WWE. Alexa Bliss, Elias, Bianca Belair was kind of mid in NXT. She was kind of just a jobber to the stars, really. She wasn't really doing much of anything. All three of them, when they went to the main roster, they became bigger stars. A lot of people who came out of NXT, maybe they got that first push, but they were basically just work rate wrestlers like Shinsuke Nakamura and Aleister Black and Andrade. Vince treated them how he treats work rate guys, which is he put them somewhere in the middle, doesn't really care too much about them, doesn't think too much about them. But, now that it's all Triple H, you fucked in NXT, there's no guarantee you're going to get a better push in the main roster. I don't see that. I don't really see too much of that. What's your opportunity to leave? Your opportunity to get away from Triple H and his booking style if you're not a good worker. And it's like, most people don't give a shit about good workers. They care about entertainment. But the only people I'm really concerned for are Lacey Evans, Baron Corbin, Ezekiel, Veer, those kinds of people. Dana Brooke, Reggie, I'm worried about them because they're going to get fucking fired, and everybody else, he probably going to try to save. But okay, it's time for me to go. Thank you guys for your time. We talked a little bit of wrestling here, but that was kind of inevitable considering this is a wrestling channel. I don't want NXT to become a super indie either, and I hope it doesn't become that way. But we'll see. We'll give NXT about a month to see if they change their booking strategy. If all of a sudden Nathan Frazier is undefeated or some shit like that, then I know something is wrong. If all of a sudden, I could see him maybe getting that Axiom gimmick off of a Kid. I could probably see them doing that. But if all of a sudden, we start seeing Wes Lee win a bunch of matches, we know something's up. But thank you guys for your time. Time to say our goodbyes. Like, share, subscribe if you guys are not there. Yes, Induce Share is back. I'll talk to you guys later, man. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. Goodbye.